welcome to another exciting show. And tonight, our guests are Paul, Patrick, and Survival Steve.
Good evening, all.
And you're probably wondering why I've got a very deep voice tonight. Well, I've been taking my new uh, Marlin Brando tablets, so I speak with a deep voice. Or no, not Marlin Brando. What was the other geezer? Was it? I was born under a wandering star bloke. But no,
Lee
I've got some
Marvin.
Lee Marvin. Thanks, mate. Yeah, Lee Marvin. But it's a funny bug that's going around. Has anybody else got it? I thought it was hay fever, but I've got sort of a dry throat.
Wake up your mind, fill up your day. Oink, oink. Smart little bites that brighten your way. You're listening to Food for Thought Radio. Here at FFTradio.com. Club Moo, oink!
Good evening and welcome to Food for Thought Radio, Holy Land Radio, Holy Land FM. Excuse me one moment. Me coughing, and also a Rumble, YouTube, and Telegram. And Soapbox Radio as well. So there we are. We've got the whole lot. Have I left any out, Patrick? I don't think we have we?
I don't know.
No.
String and some tin cans, maybe.
That's it. 2 tin cans, a piece of string. We left that one out. But anyway, tonight's guests are Anorak, Patrick, and I've already introduced you before we came on air, and Survival Steve. And
Hello.
As you can see in the chat, there's also the Fockham House Band that will be making its debut at 9:00, and I think all three of you've already got your headache tablets ready, haven't you? You've already heard it before it went on air. Bloody hell, they're very good band, very good they are, So we'll be watching out for that at 9:00, and we first in is Aunt Sally, and who would you like a 2-finger salute to tonight, Aunt Sally? And I'm bored. Looking forward to tonight's show. Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Just going to pick up some dog eggs in my garden whilst I wait. That's a good idea, isn't it? Send them to your neighbour and say these are new Easter eggs from China.
Easter eggs.
Yes. Oh, yum yum.
Yeah, it's what though, with all these modern coffees you can get where you do you like chocolate sprinkles on top of your cappuccino? Oh yes, please. This tastes like.
It's Sam. Hello, Sam. And we got Blu-ray. Hi, everyone. And yeah, we got a full night tonight. Now, Steve, we're going to start off. We're talking about. We was going to do a show, The Right Stuff, in which we talk about what we need is the right stuff to get us out of the hole that we're in. And when I say the hole that we're in, it's bloody governments that are screwing things up. How have we got positive things that we can do? Because is there anybody out there in live chat that really believes that this war that's happening in the Middle East just happened, and they're bombing all the oil terminals and the shortage of oil, which will, isn't that strange? It'll welcome in Agenda 2030. Isn't that slap my thigh? What an amazing idea, isn't it? Where we'll be living like Mao's China. Everybody's going by bike because there's no fuel. Power cuts. That's good to laugh, isn't it? And you'll be waiting for a bus because we won't be able to use your car because there's no bleeding petrol. And diesel. Now, why is it there's a shortage of diesel? I mean, I think your tank runs on diesel, doesn't it, Steve?
It certainly does. It's pretty much run dry at the moment, though. So
Really?
I'm going to have to fork out at the local petrol station for a rather expensive treat, I guess.
How old is she? What we'll call it the Steve tank, commonly known as a Range Rover. But is it a very old one or is it a newish one?
I'm trying to think. Do you know what? I think it's about a 2009. It's not a Range Rover. It's a Land Rover. I drive a.
Oh, terribly
Defender.
sorry, Range Rover.
No,
How rude of me.
similar thing. I
Yes.
drive a Defender, which is, to be fair, it's not the worst petrol consumption on the road, fuel consumption.
It's a bit smaller than the Range Rover, isn't it? Would you
yeah,
say
probably.
the
Engine's
Discover
nice.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, is that right? But if it's an older diesel engine with a fuel pump on board, you may be able to get away. I wouldn't chance it unless you're really 100% sure. We're running on chip fat.
Oh, yeah.
And also, do the grandfather rights come into it? Because depending on its age, you have grandfather rights that come in that plays into like locomotives, buses, whatever.
What,
if they're over a certain age, that they're exempt anyway.
20 years is collectors. You can get a collector's plates after 20 years.
Really?
It's that old.
Oh, over here it's pre-1973. You don't have to pay road tax on it. But with insurance, because my Toyota is 1989, it's classic, so I get cheaper insurance on it. And I think that my smart car, I mean, that's so old, it's insured against fire, theft, and Viking attacks. You know, so it's like the Flintstones. But I'm actually keeping the old baby at home. I'm not using the fuel motor. I'm being a little bit stingy because I've got a nice full tank, but not tell everybody because I'll be around. And I'm keeping it that way. I've decided to go by bike if I can, if it's small, short journeys. And are you getting a bit like that, Steve? You know, you're not sort of using it so much. You're trying to conserve on a bit of fuel.
It hasn't. I don't factor that into being, if you know what I mean. If I need to use it, I'll use it. If I don't, I don't. It's as simple as that. But I tend not to. I'll not do unnecessary journeys anyway. But you've got to bear in mind. I mean, I'm not exactly the world's richest man at the minute, so I am quite frugal in a lot of respects anyway. As you can see, me sitting here with like 10 jumpers on and what have you, rather than the heat. But to be slightly controversial to what you were saying about grandfather rights and tax, I mean, both of these things are basically, in no disrespect to anybody who's still a slave, but both of these things are for slaves.
I agree.
Servitude starts in the mind. And if we believe we're slaves, then we're going to act as slaves. So the first thing to do on a positive slant, because a lot of people think I don't come across very positive, such as the nature of warfare. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm massively positive. I'm massively positive because I've spent most of my working life as a soldier, so I understand soldiering and warfare to a high level, and I also understand how to conduct operations, how to conduct tactical operations, and all the rest of it. This is what we need to align ourselves to. We need to remember that we, as normal citizens, in fact, I don't even like to use that term because that's another slave word. But we as normal everyday folk are actually the combatants in a war, a fifth generational World War III psychological cognitive warfare, whether we like it or not. So we either get our game faces on and start acting like, I don't want to say acting like soldiers, but acting like as combatants, willing and ready to fight back by having the right mindset. And that's the important thing, because
I agree.
If we haven't got the right mindset, we are going to lose. We are losing at the moment. Why? Because practically not enough people are in alignment with the truth. And until we are in alignment with the truth, we're going to be at the receiving end of the losing team. So what we need to do first and foremost is stop acting like slaves. Now, that doesn't mean just stop talking about words that make us sound like slaves. I mean, for instance, as an example, taxpayer. A taxpayer is a slave. So let's start calling it what it is. Tax is slavery. It's theft. It only applies to people who comply with the illegitimate system that opposes the natural order, which is known as God's law or natural law. If we want to oppose natural law and oppose nature, then go ahead, keep paying taxes, keep falling foul of the system that's trying to brutalize us and enslave us. Otherwise, stop thinking like slaves. Grandfather rights, for example, my car doesn't fall under what would be known in let's just say loosely under the legal system's grandfather rights, but I don't care. I don't pay a penny of road tax. My car, unfortunately, is still registered into the slave system. I haven't taken the various steps to take it out of that system, but I still drive around without road tax. Why? Because
Good for
I'm
you.
simply not a slave. The roads don't belong to the
Smart.
government. So this is where the mental powers start to take effect. Stop thinking like a slave, then you'll stop being one. So I don't think like a slave. So guess what? The legal system's opposed against me. Well, I'm just going to say F off to the legal system because it's all bollocks. Sorry for my French.
Yes, I agree with you there. Now, Aunt Sally would like. By the way, people are asking, have I got a cold? Yes, and I have been advised to suck a fisherman's friend, but not on air. Lozenge,
That's what draws upon my throat.
It's gonna be a sore. I got a sore throat. No, I've got a very sort of pasty throat. I thought it was hay fever, but it seems it's something weird that's going around. I don't know why. And I thought this keto diet would sort of you don't get things like that, but I have. Anyway, a 2-finger salute to no ambition and sod all answers. NASA, please, and not a straight answer. And was it National Association of Space Actors? Go.
Need another 7
Beep,
astronauts.
Beep. So let's do a NASA one. So it's as we float around. Oh, by the way, are 3 or 4 or Christ knows who is going to the moon? Or was it because they lit a match looking for a gas leak? You know, their gas oven. You know, but if you believe that, you may like to buy some property on the fast eroding Norfolk coast. Very cheap, you know. Might be good, you know. And your garden gets shorter every day, so you don't have to go do so much gardening, which is a good idea. You don't have to walk so far to the beach, you know. Now, Nuki Brown, not enough vitamin C, Eric. Oh, absolutely bathing in vitamin C. I have so much bleeding vitamin C, it's coming out my ear holes. That's why I thought it might be hay fever, but I don't know, you know. But anyway,
No, I
I'm
think
going.
there's more going on around us than we think. I think there's a few of us having the same issues at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've had this thing on and off now for the last week and a half. My nose is all dry, my throat's all clogged up, but it's not a cold. I don't touch wood. I don't really get colds anymore or body detoxes.
Same here.
So whatever it is, it's just going around and.
Well, it might be, but the thing is, what you're saying, Steve, about optimism. Now, tomorrow night we've got a lady on board who, and I believe your good self is coming on, and all the team we're all invited. There's a lady coming on who lives in Brazil, and she's English, and she's bought because land over there is cheap as chips. I mean, mind you, chips are bleeding expensive now, but as cheap as anything. And she's actually starting a kind of village.
Helen?
Which that's the lady, yes.
Yeah.
And Helen's
She's
coming
in Paul
on.
English's Telegram chat.
That's
If I'm
right.
not mistaken.
She's coming on tomorrow night, and she's going to be talking. And she lives, as I say, in Brazil. And so that's going to be quite interesting and positive steps we can do to look after ourselves and get away from the system. And my tip of the week is, why not make a snail wrap for your plants? Have you seen the snail wrap for your plants? No. What you do, you lay some plastic out, okay, from a bag or something like that. Then lay a load of compost along it. Put your seedlings in a long line, and then roll the bag up and shove it in a flower pot, and you get more seedlings. And as the seedlings grow, the roots go downwards and not outwards, which is what you want. So, top tip. There we are.
Very good.
And yes, now we got plenty in chat tonight. We got here Oh, that's very kind. No one does a raspberry as good as everybody says. Yes, you've got to make sure though it's from the mouth and nowhere else. You see, with me, so you might. And Matilda says my car was impounded for driving with no insurance, which invalidated the road tax. The bar stewards, well, take the number plates off. That way, you see, that's it. Because I believe that gypsies can actually drive around without tax or insurance because they're not registered at birth.
Everyone can. But what's happened is we've obviously fallen prey to the legal system, which is all based on horse crap. So what we need to do is crawl out of the quagmire of horse crap and start educating ourselves on how the system works and trying to get others on your side.
Precisely.
I mean, I'm coming out with all these things about how the system opposes you. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is part of the warfare we're under. Once you realize what your enemy is and how they work, the next thing to do is counter their aggression by first becoming knowledgeable of their tactics and techniques.
You're spot on. Also, do you know it's the police mating season? I've noticed. Yes, there was pictures on eBay. There was three policemen on top of one bloke. You know, and I felt like saying, get your wedding tackle up. Don't show us your wedding tackle. I mean, you know, do you think they should put more? What's that stuff they put in the tea to give them? What's that?
Bromide.
Bromide. Yeah, they should put
laxatives.
Laxatives. Yeah, that'll take their mind off of it. I mean, you know, what is it? I saw them in Milton Keynes, chasing young men around and then getting on top of them, and there was about 5 trying to mate with a poor sod. You know, I mean, what is wrong with these police? I mean, and they got wives to go home to.
Started. What's wrong with the police? Where should I start?
Would it be easier to list what's right with them?
Yes,
absolutely nothing right with them. I mean, obviously, you know my sentiments. Anyone who's a serving police officer is the biggest scumbag on the face of the planet, or one of the biggest scumbags, because let's face it, there's loads of them. I mean, they need to be disbanded, obviously. And as far as I'm concerned, disband them now, even if there's going to be trouble in the future due to the fact that society can't tolerate a system that it's been indoctrinated with for thousands of years. Get rid of them now for me. And eventually the world will rectify itself, but it needs to get rid of the violent, order-following imbeciles such as the police and the military in order for that to happen.
Well, that's right. And tomorrow's show is going to be titled Self-Imposed Slavery Cult. And that's what it is. It's a self-imposed slavery cult. Because people are members of the cult. And I just don't understand people. I really don't. They like being enslaved, I think. And there's something very, very odd there. Now, Warhead Rex says, some analogical thinking problem in there somewhere. Freedom is a platonic ideal, and it's obverse is as well. Slavery may reasonably be termed as 3 hours of manual labour a day. Most work more. Well, we actually pay, pardon me, more in taxes than a medieval peasant. Medieval peasants pay 20% of what they did to the landlord. We pay much more than that in taxes.
Yeah,
so what the hell is this all about?
Sorry to state the obvious, but obviously I don't pay a penny of tax simply because I'm sorry, folks. I'm just not in the slave system. I don't consider myself a slave, so therefore I don't see the legitimacy of allowing myself to be robbed openly and voluntarily. So I mean, sorry, folks, if you guys want to do that.
But then you
I don't know why, but
you still have to fill your car up with petrol or diesel, and that's
yeah. I mean, apart from the obvious things, I mean, I can't go to the shop and ask them to deduct the 20% VAT off some goods because I object to it. I mean, if I knew enough, I probably would. And at the minute, I'm not doing that. I mean, if there is a way to do that, I'll obviously be looking to doing that in the future. But
that's what we're saying all along. It's not as easy. It's not as easy and straightforward to get out of as we think, because there's always like I say, people who I know have been trying to live off grid, but they might live in a camper van, but they've still got to go and fuel up. So at some point they're going to be back on grid anyway.
I agree with you.
So you can't escape it altogether. And I've said before that if we went to storm Parliament, we still end up having to come. We all come away from there at some point. We either hire a coach and travel down there so they know where that was, or we all travel but down our own ways. But then they know where we are on the way back.
Yeah, I mean, I get all of that, and I mean, that's a good point about living off grid. I mean, living off grid is just a form of it's slaves who have ran away. That's what that is. And I'm not saying everyone is like that, but generally people go live off grid because they realise there's a problem with society. So rather than challenge it and face up to it, and I'm generalising here. I'm not saying everybody does this. Many of them, however, will run away from the system simply to escape it and turn a blind eye to what's going on. I don't do that. I haven't moved house. I still drive my car and it's still got a license plate on it. I haven't unregistered my car from DVLA. Why? Because in my head, I'm not putting up with any more bullshit. I'm not putting up with the slave system because I'm not a slave in my head. Once you're not a slave in your head, there's nothing they can do to you as a person other than use brute force and violence to persuade you to change your attitude. That's not happening with me. I was one of the, at the top end of my profession in the military. And if you think for a minute, and again, I'm just generalizing here again, if anyone thinks for a minute, I'm just going to back down because some snotty, slavering PDF files in Parliament invent some legislation that they've just coined on a piece of blinking toilet paper to try and force people to do as they comply, then you're absolutely joking. And if I have to take down this system single-handedly with a toothpick, that's my attitude. Personally, I would like other people to maybe sharpen their own toothpicks and come and join me. But if not, I'll just do it myself and I'll take all the credit.
Mate. And I'll hold your coat. So you'll be all right there.
Thanks,
so that's all right. And now Aunt Sally said, if Brazil is so good, was not a nuts come from Brazil. I got my Brazil nuts from there.
All in.
Oh, by the way, I found out that they had a good crop, but my Brazil nuts come from Paraguay. I don't know quite why, but they had a good harvest and they're a bit cheaper now. So you can play with the nuts even more now. Why are so many of them here? Loads of them are Deliveroo drivers earning all, living 10 to a room. My adult children know some of them. Well, I don't know much more about Brazil than where it is sort of on the map. But what Helen did say is that where she is, it's quite crime-free and quite nice. But the northern part, which is a huge country, is a bit of a shithole. Bluntly.
Well, the thing is, if you've ordered a meal from Brazil and that delivery driver's cycling it all the way over to here, that's some going, isn't it? I'll be with you in 5 days.
Yes, that's it. Now, was it shocked? Shocked idealism is going. Idealism is going on. Well, I actually think that it's everyone's duty not to allow them to impose Agenda 2030 upon us. And the first thing is to see through all this BS about the war. Does anybody else? Can anybody else not see through it? Or what's
I think most people are, because if you notice how meningitis seems to have disappeared off, and a certain place beginning with I seems to have vanished off the news, and then a certain place beginning with U has vanished off the out of the news.
That's right.
But you see, people aren't falling for it. They aren't falling for it. I don't think anybody is. Not anymore.
Apparently, if all is to believe, the balloon's going to go up, as the old saying was. That's what my granddad used to say. Oh, the balloon's going up. I think that comes from the First World War when they used to let some poor son up on a balloon as a sort of a spotter of where the military is. Now, that must be the shittiest job of all in the army, a balloon spotter. Apparently, they're the high casualty rate. I bleeding think so. There they are. Hey, look, there's a balloon going up. Bang. But no, what I was going to say is, I think what it is Trump is trying to show off that he's got a bigger weapon than the other lot. That's all it is, really. My weapon's bigger than yours.
Well, I suspect compared to Starbury, it probably is.
Yeah. But Steve, I mean, you're obviously an ex-military person. I don't know what the bleeding hell's going on. I mean, we're told a load of crap. We really are. I mean, who's blowing up what and who's bashing who and who's. Sometimes you hear that the Strait of Hormuz is ships going through okay. Then you hear that it's totally blocked. Then you hear something else. Then you hear this is. I mean, that what I sent through to you today about if it's true, the Iranians have hit a major pharmaceutical factory, flattened it in Israel, and they reckon that a huge percentage of drugs and pharmaceutical stuff comes from that factory. Well, I know for a fact that most pharmaceutical drugs come from SmithKline, from this country, are made here and in the Netherlands. But if that is true, what they say, which I don't know whether it is, we're going to have a lot of people, a lot of zombies walking around because there's a lot of psychotic people that are dumbed down by the drugs they have, and they'll sort of walk around like that. Well, they'll be like bleeding zombies, and this is where your self-defense will come in a lot. So remember, I've got my Sharpie pen here. So if any zombie wants to come after me, they'll have black spots all around them because I'll take the top off before I hit them with it.
Perhaps that's something we should mention, because in terms of self-defense, I mean, again, for the listening viewership, etc., tuning into tonight's episode, how many people, and answer this question yourselves, or ask this question yourself and answer it yourselves truthfully. If you were being attacked by somebody, an aggressive person who was obviously and clearly wanting to do you harm, would you defend yourself? Yes or no? It's as simple as that. Yes or no. Again, you don't need to answer put the answers in the comments or anything. Answer yourselves, yes or no. Would you defend yourself? So this is my answer. If I was being attacked, first and foremost, I would like to think I'd maybe have a little bit of an advantage over knowing what somebody's intentions were, simply because I'm reasonably good at reading body language. I use situational awareness skills, and I've kind of been
You're
lucky
trained.
enough.
You're fully
I've
trained.
been trained to understand what the let's just say body language is prior to somebody being aggressive. That doesn't mean I'm the hardest man in Britain, by the way. I'll probably easily get filled in by a 25-year-old kid who does boxing, because I'm not as fit as I used to be or as agile. But however, what I would do is I would basically tear his head off his shoulders. If I could, if I was able enough, I would. And if I couldn't do it barehanded, I would use some sort of, let's say, persuasive implement, whether it's a Sharpie pen, whether it's my bridle leather belt, whether it's the hat I'm wearing, whether it's the nearest object I could pick up. And the guy would maybe reconsider his life choices. That's if he was awake enough.
You're spot on there, because I think the difference between you and us is it's a bit like my dad. During the war, he was trained in unarmed combat to the point where it just kicks in without him even thinking about it. And I remember when he was in his 70s, he said, "Come at me with this broomstick." And I went at him. And within seconds, I was down on the floor with the broomstick over my throat. He just, bang, it's automatic. And that lasted with him for life. And the same with my uncle. He could do it because he had the same training. And with yourself, I think it would just be automatic because you're training. Bang, that's it.
Well,
but with us...
But the reason I'm mentioning it is because, I mean, somebody's put that comment in, Mike Mantis, about not all of us have your skill set, Steve. I'll tell you what, perhaps not, but there'll be loads of people probably even listening to the chat tonight who are much more able than me in, let's just say, a boxing ring or anything like that. Tougher, they can street fight, they can brawl better than me, more than likely. But it's not about skill sets, because guess what? Skills will only get you so far. It's what's in here that makes all the difference. It's, would you defend yourself, yes or no? If you've answered no, then you've definitely lost. If you've answered yes, you're in with a 50% chance of winning that encounter.
You're great. It's a bit. You're spot on. That's a great sort of response you've got there. I don't mean to talk over you, but it's a bit like weapons. Well, if you've got a weapon, you've got to be fully trained in it, because that weapon can be used against you if you're not very good at it. And by shot, this is the simplest and really best weapon. Especially if you take, as I say, take the top off and you get bastard to get black spots all over him.
Explain it. What did he look like? Well, he was white, but when he left here, he looked like he joined the Dots book.
Mind you, police won't arrest him because I think he's got chicken pox, won't they? So there we go. But really, as I said on previous shows, I'm very much a pacifist where it comes to governments ordering me to go and kill people that I don't know. I'm very much a pacifist in that point, but in that respect. But if I saw a child being attacked or a woman being raped, I'd go over and knock 9 bells of crap out of someone. And if someone came into my house, I'd knock 9 bells of crap out of them. Again, I'm not that fit, but I would do my bloody best to defend myself with my Sharpie pen, of course. But the thing is that you're someone's put, Matilda has put, training is everything. I agree with you. And difference between ritualistic combat and predatory attacks. I mean, I was hearing a story yesterday on YouTube. It was very interesting. It was a chap with his dog going for a walk in the woods, like most people do, walking along a path. And he was about 10 miles from civilization. I'm not sure what part of the country he was in. And he was in this country and he was whistling, do, not a soul around. And suddenly something was mimicking his whistling. That's a bit strange. So he stopped. And his dog was a bit sort of iffy. So he thought, perhaps it's a bird or something like that. So he carries on whistling and it's mimicking and the sound was getting closer. So he starts thinking, don't like this. This is not nice. So he carries on a bit more and he decides not to whistle. And suddenly the song that he was whistling comes back and it's very close to him. So he thinks, sod this for a game of soldiers, does a complete U-turn and walks quite fast back. And suddenly that whistling gets louder. He thinks, that's not a bird, that's a human. And then he stops and behind him, there's a bloke, about 6 foot, and this was midsummer, and he's got a hoodie and he's got a hood up, looking down. And this chap turns around and says, "Will you leave me alone, please?" No response. "Why are you whistling what I'm whistling?" No response. So the fellow thinks, I mean, this bloke was in his 50s, and this was a young bloke, about 20, and he's about over 6 foot tall. This is odd. So he carries on walking, and his dog's growling and, really doesn't like it. The next minute, he looks around, and the bloke's disappeared. Now, how did he disappear? Because there's loose leaves. This was late summer. Nobody could walk away unless you heard them rustling the leaves. Didn't hear him. Weird. That was a very strange thing. Now, the thing is, when you're in a situation like that, all right, your adrenaline's pumping. Will you think clearly unless you've been trained? Will you stumble? Will you, what will you do? Will you get your pen out and drop it on the floor? It's a bit like if you're in a hurry to get in your car, you'll never, in the old days, before you had the click thing, the remote control, you'll be fumbling with keys, and you'd always drop the bloody things. Look at these American films when there's someone after a woman. She'd always drop the bleeding keys on the floor and all that sort of stuff. And this is the thing, it's training. It really is. So it might be a good idea if we can train on our own individually, with something that you can get very good at. Like
it could also be consciousness as well, because I think a lot of the time, I've said this many times before, that can everybody see everybody? Can we? I mean, how often do you walk down the street and somebody will walk past you and they'll literally be shoulder to shoulder, and they don't even bat an eyelid, as though you're not there or they are not. Well, as we keep talking about non-player characters. I mean, I had this on Saturday, getting off the train in Wolverhampton, and there was 3 people hovering around the door to try and get on, and there was 3 of us trying to get off, and none of them would actually step back to let us off. Well, is it because they can't see us, or they're just rude, disrespectful individuals? It's probably the latter, but are we on a different level of consciousness than they are?
It's a good point, that is. And Ansari said the trouble is when you're attacked by more than one person, 2 or 3, will have your arse. Well, yes, but as I say, my father did unarmed combat, and he was walking down Euston Underpass once because he used to work near there, and there's a couple of youths waiting to mug someone, and he saw them there, and they said, "Leave him," because they could see, like yourself, Steve, square shoulders, been in the army, and they've never bragged. He's very modest, very polite man, but he said if they would have attacked him, they'd have needed an ambulance, not for him, but he said they wouldn't be able to have children afterwards.
That's the attitude to adopt.
Yeah.
But that same attitude, though, that needs to be extended to everybody who means to do you harm. And I mean, you mentioned about taking positive steps. So this is a positive step that people need to take. They need to realize who their enemy is, then they need to do something to defend themselves from it. So that means we need to be more proactive. And you can't be proactive if your head's still in the sand, or you are not prepared to do anything about the situation you're in, other than, begging. Let's just say begging somebody to come and save the day for us. Part of our enemy, let's say enemy forces. Part of our enemy forces is indeed our own governments. Why? Because they've declared war on us. They've declared war on us. They've not just declared war. In fact, to be fair, they haven't declared proper war on us. They've declared war through their actions and their intent. Their intent is to do what? Come the year 2030, to have us brutally enslaved with the various things that they've already made more than blatantly obvious. What else have they done? That they've also, let's just say, they've killed off a certain percentage of people from their combative effectiveness by giving them a special little dose of
little ingredient.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So they've already declared through their actions their intent. Now, the trouble is, this is where the mindset is so important. Because if you think, for example, storming the Houses of Parliament is going to do anything, you're just going to end up on a hit list. That's a hit list, a watch list. You'll end up in prison. You'll end up on a very long naughty list with all the people involved. That's if you survive the encounter. Because let's face it, the militarism of the police, and of course, the gentlemen I used to work with, are not going to pull the punches in any way, shape, or form. Oh, no. If there's anything remotely physical done in the on UK territory, let's put it that way. So that would be foolish. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, because personally, it should have been done 6 years ago, if not.
I agree with you.
But
I agree with you.
Let's face it, nobody's in a position to do that. Even the men of this country who completely lack testicles, and again, I'm generalising here, but sorry, blokes, there's some blokes in this country who
they've got no balls.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
They need to check them from the neck up. But this needs to be applied. This mindset of I would defend myself against an intruder in my home, or somebody in my backyard, or somebody wanting to mug me at a bus stop. That same mindset, in principle, needs to apply to the people who are doing us harm, which is our own government.
I agree. Now, Aunt Solia says she obviously didn't see the show that you were on. What the heck? I've been very polite there, of course. I was going to say, but I thought I better not say that, So what the heck can you do with a Sharpie pen? I'm baffled. Could I be the raw recruit? And Steve, sure. What do I do with the survive? Have you got a Sharpie handy, or what can you do?
I haven't. Yeah, I've got a fork.
Okay, imagine the fork is the Sharpie pen. So there we go. So that is the Sharpie pen, and you gave some excellent advice. So if you think someone's going to attack you, place Sharpie in hand. Okay, right, over to you, Steve. So what do I do with it now?
Yeah, so you're frightened for your life. Somebody's going to attack you. You're basically going to strike that Sharpie somewhere where it's going to hurt the person who wishes to do you harm. And if it happens to end up in his face, well, I'm pretty sure that would make him stop in his tracks. So yeah, the face is a very good, obvious target. Well, so it's not necessarily pretty, but it's do or die.
Well, as you explained to me, Steve, I remember you saying that if you try and hit someone with your fist, boxers, they're trained to hit people with their fists, but we're not. And you probably do more damage to your bleeding fist than you to the other geezer.
Oh, easy, yeah.
But that placed in the hand gives the power much more. Bang! And you bashed it on the table, and it really. And you can imagine that coming at force. That coming at force would do sod all.
Yeah.
That
So it's
coming
known
at
as-
force would really hurt.
Exactly. It's known as a force multiplier. So basically, somebody mentioned about getting attacked by more than one person. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fancy my own chances if I was attacked by two people wishing to do me harm. However, if I had a force multiplier, such as something that was to give, let's just say, loosely mechanical advantage, because when you use an implement that causes pain, hopefully that would be enough to deter somebody from wishing to re-establish his conjecture. So apply the pain, and at the earliest opportunity, make a run for it if possible.
Well, I worked with a bloke who was a black belt judo. I mean, if I've had a black belt, I'd get it cleaned. But anyway, and he said he was quite an interesting character, and he said that the first thing they train you in black belt judo, don't worry about saving face, run away if you can. Only use it if you're cornered. The last possible thing. It's a bit like the nuclear deterrent. Don't press the button unless you're really, really cornered. You try everything else. Leg it. You know, if you want to look, if you look a coward, look a coward. Don't give a donkey. It's self-preservation.
Right, yeah.
It's
I'll
a bit
do it all
like
the time.
Chuck Yeager was talking about test pilots, because Chuck Yeager was a test pilot. And he was on the radio and he said, when do you see these Hollywood films where they're saying, okay, we're going up to 30,000 feet now and the plane is falling to bits? That is complete and utter BS. He said, when you're in an aircraft, it's falling to bits. The last thing you want to do is tell ground crew what's happening. It's self-preservation kicks in. All you want to do is get out that bloody plane as quickly as possible. You're not going to sod about saying, I'm at 30,000 feet now and the plane is falling to bits. No, he said not one test pilot did that. They all shut their gob and concentrated on saving their own lives. That's what they're interested in, you know. But,
so fine motor skills go out the question when you, if you're not used to being in combat, let's just say, or you're not used to the adrenaline surge from some aggressive circumstance, which, let's face it, not many people are, because why would we be? You know, it's not something we do every day.
That's right.
So what happens is you lose your fine motor skills, and if you are trying to do anything remotely clever, you know, in terms of fighting back, for example, it's probably going to fail. But what you will have is you will have gross motor skills. That means you can do simple movements with a simple object, such as a club, a stick, a rock, etc., or a Sharpie pen, and you can make
umbrella.
all of these things. And especially if you've done some sort of training beforehand, or you've already established in your mind, using, you know, mental sort of mind games, etc., what you do, you know, visualization, what you would do in response to X, Y, and Z happening. That way you are already giving yourself a little bit of an advantage over whatever the situation might be.
But the thing is that overcoming fear, I think, is the most important thing, which is easier said than done. Because in a situation like that, you think your heart's beating. And one of my rules of thumb, and I don't know what you think about this, Steve, if I'm walking in an area there's no one around, and it's a sort of a built-up area, I never walk close to buildings. I walk more to the side of the road, because if you're walking close to the buildings, someone can drag you in. Whereas if you're more, all right, you're conspicuous, they can see you, yes, but they'll be able to see you even if you're trying to dodge in and out, you know, sort of near the buildings. But if you're away from buildings, it's going to take longer to someone to drag you down an alleyway. Whereas if you're out, and I mean, if you're going down, say, a one-way street, walk in the middle of the street or a blocked off road, that way, all right, they can see you, but they would have to drag you a long way to get you into a side alley, because that's where they do their nasty business. So you're going to say.
So is that not living in fear? I mean, when I walk to and from the station, I mean, I've walked many times. The path I take is very secluded, but I think the trick is not to live in fear. And I mean, my fear went back in 2020 when they started pushing that shite down our throats.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't live in fear. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But
You're right.
I think
You're
for the
right.
most part, if you can talk your way out of it, and I generally can, because what I'll do if somebody's about to attack me, I'll say, "Well, I'm going to talk to you about buses. Then let's soon run a mile."
Well, I've got a funny story there because I used to work with a bloke who was brought up around the Elephant and Castle, which, for those of you who don't know London, used to be a bit of a rough dive. I think Michael Caine came from around there, and he was walking. Now he was brought up. I don't know what happened to his father, but he was brought up by his mother and a couple of aunts. You see, and one of the aunts had been through World War II and was a frontline nurse. Nothing shocked her. She had seen everything. You name it, she was as hard as old nails on the outside, but a soft and kind person on the inside. And when he was really young, he was walking with her down Elephant and Castle, I think it's one of the subways there. He's walking along with her. And a flasher came along and flashed. And she said, for calm as anything, young man, if I had something as small as that, I wouldn't dare show it off. The bloke ran off. And she was so unfazed by it that when they got home, she never said a word about it. She just sat down and everything was, where a West Wind would go, oh, no. And I think it was her body language that made him run off. But one thing to say, spare a moment, young man. But again, she wasn't shocked by anything because she'd been through the war. Nothing would shock her. She's amazing.
It'd been funny if she'd have said on the back of it, that was the item missed off my shopping list. Party sausages.
Small carrots. That's it. Yeah, but I think he was more shocked than she was. I mean, he's only a little boy, he's only a little tot. But that's the thing, keeping calm, and as you say, Steve, try and talk your way out of the situation. By showing assertiveness in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's probably got that down to a fine art, and I would massively agree. If you can talk your way out of a situation, do so, because, let's just say a street thug may, warm to the idea of somebody who's, offers them a solution. Not everybody wants to fight. So if you can offer them solutions or, divert their attention or whatever you can do, by speaking logic to somebody, brilliant. I think Mark Anthony's come up with a great comment. By the way, there is a few other great comments in the chat.
Right, where are we? Mark Anthony.
But put Mark Anthony's point on, because he mentioned about situational awareness. So this is a massive thing that I say we, as a soldier, all soldiers use situational awareness skills. These are, it's not necessarily something you can just pick up overnight, but it's something you can develop. It's being able to read this situation and come to a bit of an assessment of what's going on and what's likely to happen. So this is what we need to be able to do at a higher level. So if we talk about levels of potentiality, if you get mugged on the street, that would be, let's just call that the tactical level. If you get into some sort of bother in let's just say, a pub situation by a gang of thugs, or you're there with some people to do others some harm, let's call that the operational level. But higher than that, there's what's known as the strategic level. Is where we need to think and we need to apply this situational awareness, because at the strategic level, there is a group of individuals, a body or an organization who want to do us harm. Okay, and that harm is a variety of different things, but essentially it's about monetizing us and using us to, and I mean, the net result of it is we are going to be finding ourselves brutally enslaved and tyrannized and, mostly unhappy as a result of the situation that will develop. If we're not applying situational awareness to the strategic level, we are going to find ourselves brutalized in a few years' time. But what we need to do is really start taking positive action in order to prevent this happening. And if I have to say, if we're not doing things now, then it's going to be too late if we wait any longer.
I agree with you. Here he is. It's Be Away. And Aunt Sally's come up with a good one. She said the best way to avoid being robbed is not to have anything visually worth anything on show. I put my handbag in a shitty carrier bag, pardon me, and wear no jewellery. And another thing, you could use germ warfare if you've got a nasty throat like I am, cough all over them. Because that's what I did with a policeman once. I stopped on a spot check, pulling vehicles over. And I said, "Yeah, what is this? Is it a spot check?" I said, "Well, I've got a pimple there, I've got a spot there, but no." And I had the flu coming on, and I was going, and I had to get out of the car. And it was sort of drizzling with rain, so I went, flu all over him. I thought, right, you bastard, I hope you get my flu. But now I think Aunt So's got a good idea there. I mean, the other one is to carry 2 wallets on. 2 billfold wallets. Excuse me one moment. Yeah.
The trick I find is I don't carry a wallet at all. If I carry cash with me, it goes in my ticket pocket. My phone stays in my pocket when it's always on aeroplane mode. It's I only get it out to check train times or bus times. That's about as much as I use it for. Most of the time, it's out of.
Well,
if it's on display, people are going to be, I might be tempted with that. But if it's out of sight, no one knows about it, do they?
But I have a billfold wallet, but then I sometimes have a secondary wallet which has Fockham notes in it. And if anybody said, "Give me your wallet," I'd give them that. And there's nothing worth any value in it apart from the wallet. And that is a good thing, if you're going to London or somewhere like that, have 2 wallets. So if someone attacks you, you give them the one, put a £5 in it or something like that, so you haven't lost much. So they.
How about instead of giving them the wallet that's empty, how about you just give them the good news?
That's a good idea. Or you with a broken nose, you want my wallet? I ain't got a broken nose. Boom! Now you have.
I must admit, I mean, I'm not a Yorkshireman, but I'm not. I'm from the northeast, and I must admit, if somebody wanted to steal my empty wallet, I'm afraid I wouldn't even part with that. You'd have to have some serious friends on your side to steal my empty wallet out of my pocket. So
trouble is just knives. Knives I'm bothered about because they draw a knife on you. And
well, pull yours out. If he pulls a knife, what? What?
Well,
how are you going to win a knife fight?
I'd say, hang on a minute. I just got my Swiss Army knife. Hang on.
Oh, well, you need something better
shit, I've got the corkscrew. Hang on a second. Don't look just yet.
I just think, if you had the corkscrew in your hand and the corkscrew's there, that would be rather nasty, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting topic of conversation, which is worth kind of extrapolating upon a little bit because we have the fundamental, universal, God-given right to protect ourselves. It's known as the self-defense principle. It's one of 2 overarching principles alive and well in the geometry of the world that we live in. The first is the non-aggression principle, i.e. do no harm. And the second is the self-defense principle, take no shit. So this is what, if anyone's familiar with the yin and yang symbol, the black and white circle with the interweaving colours, that's what these 2 principles are. That's what that represents. We have the God-given right to protect ourselves. And when I said earlier, who would be prepared to defend themselves against an attacker for whatever reason, that might be, the answer should be hopefully yes, because we all want to preserve our lives and our health and our well-being, and of course our goods and possessions as well. Nobody has the right to take any of that away from us. Nobody, because that would be in violation of the second principle of the universe, which is the non-aggression principle. If you try to forcibly take somebody's possession, that's obviously a wrongdoing. That wrongdoing can be countered by the opposite of that, which is to protect oneself and protect our property. That's a fundamental right in nature. So what has happened is governments, because they are mind controllers and they are abusers, they have taken away our right to protect ourselves. So if I was to say, for example, we're talking about somebody pulls a knife on you, well, pull your knife, or pull your sword, or pull your club, or pull your I'd pull your baseball bat out. Most
Pull the
people would
Sharpie
be,
out.
yeah, pull your Sharpie out. But to be fair, a Sharpie in a knife fight is probably like, maybe I need to refigure this equation a little bit. But
You wouldn't stand much chance. You
yeah,
might
exactly.
lose
You
your
could al-
sharp more than your Sharpie.
You can always say to the assailant, "Can you just hang on a second? I'm just going to draw a knife. Get your Sharpie out, just draw it."
I still think Crocodile Dundee was the best one. I've got a knife here. Nah, that's a knife. Now that's a knife. I think that's a classic. Isn't it?
Exactly. I like it. But,
yeah.
but guess what? That would, I mean, I'm not trying to encourage people to be carrying, implements of any nature. But what I am is I'm realistic. So if you're up against somebody who wishes to do you harm, even if he hasn't got a weapon, if that person is bigger than you and obviously tougher or younger, fitter, stronger than you, chances are you're going to either walk away hurt or you're going to be robbed of, in this encounter. You're going to be the victim. Therefore, why are we defending and advocating for a group of individuals, the parliamentarians, these weirdos in Parliament who have told us that it's illegal for us to be able to defend ourselves? Because that's what they've done. They've got no right to do that. And when I said about, well, we need to start, engage in this thing, well, guess what? The government have said it's illegal to be able to defend yourself. Well, not in my head, it's not, because my head is tuned with nature, which was written by God, the Creator. He declared in his infinite wisdom, which is a lot bigger than the wisdom of the imbeciles in Parliament, that we have got the fundamental God-given right to defend ourselves. So what we're going to follow? We're going to follow the laws of creation, or we're going to follow the laws invented by PDF files who are intending to do us harm 4 years down the line.
I agree with you. And I used to be, I was brought up very anti-gun. I'll completely reverse that now, because places like Texas, I believe, have got the lowest crime rates. Why? Because any potential robber doesn't know whether they're going to get a magnum shoved up their nose. If they come up behind a woman, that she doesn't, because they have firearms trainings, and places like Switzerland, there's virtually zero crime, because people are allowed to, with special license, walk around. They don't even bat an eyelid if someone's walking down the road with a bloody automatic weapon on their shoulder.
But is it also the fact that they seem to be better brought up? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but
they're trained.
How often do we have people who have children just to get the benefits? I don't mean the benefits of having the children. I mean the benefits from the state. Yeah. So they don't really want the children in the first place. They just want the money from the government, basically. Well, now, if you look at mainland Europe, it seems to be the completely opposite. The people over there seem to be, for the most part, very respectful, as I've said many times. And I think that probably applies, like I say, with Switzerland as well, Germany. There are the shitholes.
There's always exception. Yeah, there's always the exception to the rule.
But it is the exception rather than the rule. Whereas here, it seems to be the opposite way around. It seems to be that everybody that gets past, we're in fear of, or you think they're gonna. And it's instilled in us, isn't it? You get on a train, you get the see it, say it sorted thing. To make you in fear of every passenger on board that train. Well, I'm not in fear of any passenger on board that train. If I'm probably more in fear of the ticket man coming down and seeing I've spent 400 quid on a day return to London. That's been robbed.
Yeah, God, right.
I agree with you. Yes, you're right.
That much.
Well, Mike Mantis says Jeff Thompson did a great book called Dead or Alive about self-protection and how not to stand out as a victim. So that's an interesting one. And I'll tell you something, in the Victorian times, they used to have an umbrella and a sword inside the handle. So if someone robbed you, whoosh, out comes the sword from the umbrella.
Yeah.
So I think they're still available. But I didn't say that. Now, Aunt Sally said, I worked in Hackney for over 15 years. Oh, you poor Aunt Sally. That's a shame. Sorry to hear that. I've seen women have a wheelie bag of shopping stolen from behind them. I adapted to walk around there by having nothing of value, plus a massive Newfoundland. Yes, that does help, doesn't it? Yeah. That's a little bit hungry as well. Hasn't had his meal. Bit grumpy.
What we need to do, though, and again, just to reiterate, being able to defend oneself at the tactical level, i.e., on the streets, is all well and good. What we need to do is we need to then improve upon our holistic intelligence. And again, I'm not trying to be derogatory at all here. I'm on about society in general, to realize the strategic level of effects that are, or the strategic level of attack that is affecting us. And this is coming down from the corporate side of the government wing of aggression, which is what's, Agenda 2030, etc. All of these policies which are designed to inflict harm upon us. Again, This isn't just going to go away just because we don't like it, or just because we turn a blind eye to it. It's definitely happening. It's happening. It's been happening steadily and progressively over the last few years. I mean, some of the fallout of this. One thing we've got is we've now got war happening in. We've got war happening in Iran. Well, did anybody see that coming? I mean, does that come as a surprise? It does come as absolutely zero surprise to me. Why is it happening? Why? Because we're still advocating, funding, and supporting the most evil empire ever known, which is government. Until we can get our holistic intelligence improved and realize that who our aggressors are, then we're going to be screwed over forever. And our kids are, and our kids' future is going to be screwed over. So take that away with us.
Hello, Helen. Now, this is a surprise. I thought you was coming on tomorrow night. I hope you're coming on tomorrow night because you're booked for tomorrow night.
You know what? I thought it was today.
Did you really? Oh, well. Yeah, well, actually, you're booked in for tomorrow with Steve and also a chap called Nathan Allenby, who spent a long time in India, started working with co-ops and things.
Okay, no, that's perfect. No, I'm also free. I'm also free tomorrow. But I tell you what, what you're talking about, just real quick, and then I'll go because I've got my dinner.
No,
anyway.
stay. You're more than welcome because I mean, as long as you've got your Sharpie pen ready, and I like what this chap said. With a I like this one. Hi all, a Sharpie has the advantage because you can draw your sword. Sorry.
Exactly.
So there we go.
But you know what? When you were talking, I thought it was quite interesting because it's true. If I was in England right now, especially if I had children. I'm too old for children now, but if I had children, I'd be very worried about them being raped or attacked, or myself being attacked or whatever. And before I came to live in Brazil, which is where I am now, all you hear about, I knew nothing about Brazil, right? So I thought Brazil, it's the favelas of Sao Paulo, and it's all dangerous and crazy, and oh my God, it's third world country, and you're going to get everything stolen. I have rarely been in such a crime-free place. The part of Brazil that I'm in, I don't lock my door. I don't lock my car. It never occurs to me that there's anybody out there going to hurt me or whatever. And my husband now is from America, and he said he moved from Minneapolis, where, he said there was literally gunfire every night. He could hear it, people shooting each other. And so he had his sort of, and he's a trained martial artist, so he had his sort of, he had his radar out all the time. And then when he moved here, he said he spent the first couple of months just sort of putting his pinger out to see what was around. Nothing. He said, there's nothing. There's nothing here that's dangerous. It's like England maybe was, back in the 50s or 60s or something. I don't know what.
That's lovely, isn't it? I mean, the worst thing that happens is, someone trips up a pavement or something. That's about the worst thing that could happen, or a cat gets stuck up a tree.
Well, and the worst thing I've heard of, the most criminal activity around where I live is we have a little shared, WhatsApp group for the local people. They're typical local village kind of people, whatever. The worst thing I ever heard is, oh, watch out, somebody broke into my shed and stole a spanner or something. I don't know. That's the sort of maximum crime that I've heard of around here. So, and I'm sure there's things in the big city in Florianopolis and so on, but here, nothing.
Sounds nice, doesn't it?
Nice. It is nice.
Yes,
yeah,
and also I like your winters. It doesn't get very cold, does it? Like here, it
not
takes
really.
bloody ages.
Well, yeah. Although Yeah, it's true. They're not as cold as England. However, the houses don't have central heating or carpets or whatever, and have one piece of glass for the window. So it gets a bit chilly in the houses. But we have a wood burning stove and as much wood as we could ever use for free. So
that's what I like. I like free.
I've got to ask one question. Do you get them spraying the sky like we get here?
Good one.
Not
Good
nearly
question.
as much. Occasionally, and it really upsets me every time I see it. I go mad and I shout at the sky and curse and things. But now and again, you see the fucking chemtrails, excuse my French, coming over here. But it's more unusual. I mean, I lived in Key West in Florida. Unbelievable amount of chemtrails. I lived in Las Vegas. My God, I couldn't wait. I spent 4 years. I don't know how I did it really, but anyway, no, 2.5 years. Sorry, 2.5 years in Las Vegas. My God, it was insane. I think because everyone comes from all over the world and they want to infect everybody with that crap. It was literally 6 days a week, thick chemtrails. There's a whole story attached to that where I had a visitor from certain people to my house because I was complaining about it. I wrote an email to the governor of Las Vegas. I forget his name now. He's an evil bastard. Anyway, and I got this letter back. So,
Dear evil bastard, you know.
And he goes, "Oh no, madam." He goes, "Oh, I guess a few people have mentioned this, but I've spoken to the head of the Air Force, and it's just contrails, madam." And I go, "Really? Oh!" And I stupidly then sent him this whole list of all the patents, for chemtrail shit and all that. Sent all that off to him. Well, next thing I do is I get people coming around my house saying they want to make a movie about chemtrails and stuff, and they found my name on a website where I put some photos of chemtrails.
Oh yes.
Stupidly, I thought, oh, okay then. But I was originally going to go there. Then they said, "Oh, last minute, can we come to you?" At the last minute, I was like, "Oh, okay." My husband wasn't there; he's gone to work. I said, "All right then." Really naive. Anyway, so the 4 guys showed up with their little camera and stuff. And shall we go outside on the back deck and we'll do it there, right? Okay, one of them stayed inside, so no doubt they were on my computer, finding out who I was, what was what. Anyway, next thing we know, the car, we get this car, and one day my husband's driving it out the garage there, and all of a sudden the steering wheel comes off in his hand. It had been held on with a coat hanger, shit like that. We left Las Vegas shortly afterwards, but anyway, kind of funny story. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to go and get on with my dinner, and I will join you tomorrow to talk more about what I'm doing here. Yeah, and getting out of the matrix as best as
nice to meet you,
excellent.
by the way.
It's very nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
And also, I mean, Brazil. I mean, it's Portuguese that they speak there, but what I like is the amount of space. I mean, I had a quick look on the old Google. And crumbs, I've looked nice. There's all those trees and tropics and things like that.
I know it's bigger than the United States, and 65% is covered in trees and is forested. Beautiful.
Wow,
that's fantastic. And the government doesn't get too far up your nose like they do here, I assume. I mean, what about petrol? Can you get your petrol and diesel very easily, or is it?
Yeah. No, actually, Brazil, it makes a lot of ethanol. So push comes to shove, we could use that. It screws up your engine, apparently, but not that I know anything about engines, but I hear that. No, it does also produce some of its own fuel. It imports some. The prices have gone up here. I would say they've gone up about 20%. I'm looking at the thing. But yeah, no, you can get everything here. Brazil is quite self-contained when it comes to raw materials, food. It exports a lot of food, so there's a lot of food here.
That's right, yes.
And it has its own ethanol made from all the sugarcane and all that. So
very nice.
Yeah, so I have the best food here than I've ever had in my life in terms of quality and quantity of really, super nice organic food and so on, and amazing variety. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And I guess you get the same as what you get in England, do you, where it comes to food? I mean, have you still got Lidl's and places like that in Brazil, and
no,
those
but
sort of shops?
we have not Lidl's, but we do have supermarkets, but we don't have. It's not like Sainsbury's or Tesco's where you can go in and see and buy a Vindaloo curry ready made or a such and ready made food. That doesn't really exist here. Forget that.
Excellent.
You can go in there and buy actual food. Actual food.
Oh, that sounds nice. That does.
Things like butchers and farm shops and things like that.
every supermarket has a big sort of butcher's part, and but I just got a delivery of beef actually in my freezer yesterday from my neighbour. He brought over 25 kilos. He's bringing another 25 kilos. He said next week. I said, all right. I bought a cow with him basically, and we bought a couple of cows together. But anyway, but he butchers it. He's just quarter of a mile down the road, and brings it to me still warm. Anyway, and,
Good heavens!
Yeah, I know. But they don't have fridges. He doesn't have. He's just a poor guy. He doesn't have a big cooling fridge or anything. Anyway, it goes straight in the freezer. So, but yeah. So I get my meat from there, which is fantastic. All grass fed, no garbage, no crap, whatever. And then I get I've got chickens of my own. I've got ducks of my own. I've got fish of my own. I've got turkeys of my own. So, and I've got a goat. My friend down the road. Bit strange, born again Christian, but whatever. He's down the road. German guy. He's got loads and loads of goats, so we can have goat milk, goat meat, whatever. And my other
It's incredible.
guy down the road has sheep, and so yeah, I've never eaten more meat than I've been in Brazil. The more they say don't eat it, the more I'm going to eat.
Well, with a keto diet, it's almost 100% meat, red meat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not totally keto, but I eat more meat now. We have meat every day, and good. I feel good actually.
But they're eating the stuff that's
sorry,
sorry, I was going to say the stuff that they export to Europe is crap. Apparently, you have the good stuff for yourself.
What the Brazilian beef?
Yeah.
Is it crap? I don't know. Well, it might. Well, if you think it's crap, I don't know whether it's crap, but it may be. It's not. I wouldn't say it would be crap, but it would be fed if it's massive amounts of export. Probably comes from down south of here, where they have a lot of flat land. And they're growing a lot of soy and GMO crap. But I wouldn't call it crap necessarily, but it might be. I don't know. I don't eat that kind of meat. So
you were going to say, Paul, sorry, mate, I chimed in on you. What was you going to say, mate?
I've forgotten. It's gone.
I'm terribly sorry. Please accept my apology. Yes.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I would say you feel better for eating meat and...
Yes.
I mean, and it's all local. And I guess if you get to meet the cow, the chicken, and the duck, and so on, it's history, as it were. Unlike the supermarkets here in the UK, where it's probably travelled 3/4 of the way around the world.
Oh
It's
yeah,
probably-
no, I don't get too friendly with my chickens. I call them chickies and chickens, but I don't. When we had 6 to start with. Now I've got about 70 for heaven's sake. But anyway, because I keep reproducing, of course. But anyway. The first time I had this one cockerel, it was beautiful. It was like the cock of the French one, the white. It was a beautiful white one. He was very proud and everything. But anyway, and we gave him a name. We called him, in the Portuguese, it's a gallo. Okay, so it was Gary the Gallo. Stupidly gave it a name. So when it came to eating him, we were like, oh, sorry, Gary. Oh, we're eating Gary. It was like, so now I don't give them names. So they're just chickens.
Yeah. Mind you, Steve, yeah, I think you're a vegetarian, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So I don't name my vegetables, I must admit.
No, I don't either, no.
Keir Starmer does.
Right? They scream. You've seen those videos, right?
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Yes. Did you pick up your veg from Aldi's at 4p and 6p a bag?
No,
I wouldn't go in Aldi's if my life depended on it. Sorry. I've got no apologies to anybody who works in Aldi's, by the way. I'll just leave.
Well, just remember that Aldi means all die.
Good point. That's a good one.
It openly displays the Freemasonic 33 in its logo. Not that, whether that's
really
deliberate or intentional, I do not know. Yeah, but... I tend to avoid places like Aldi, to be honest.
Do they have the handshake brigade in Brazil? Is that very strong? I'm talking about the Freemasons and people like that.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm sure they do. In fact, I think somewhere I saw a Freemason lodge. I can't remember where. Probably in Florianopolis. I can't remember. But yeah, no, I'm sure those creeps are everywhere.
They are, aren't they? They're like sort of, shall we say, you won't move into a place. There's a funny smell and you can't get rid of it, and you think, oh, I know where that is coming from. Eventually, they are sort of all over the place. That they creep up like maggots, But
like locusts.
Yes, yes. It's a Masonic-free zone round here, you see. And I think I've upset quite a few people what I've said about Masons.
Well,
It would be unfair to blame, purely blame Freemasons, because I would often use the term Freemasons, but I mean just in placement of secret societies, because secret societies run the planet. Secret societies own governments and run governments and tell governments how to work and what to do. Governments don't do anything without being the ultimate direction, which is because the world is run by an occultocracy, which is where the secret rulers are hidden behind the scenes. Most people you've never heard of. But what happens as well, and this is an important point that I do like to stress upon and probably don't enough, is we often blame governments, and I'll often blame governments personally. But one thing we must bear in mind is governments they've nothing without us feeding into the system. The human race has become what's known as secondary psychopaths. We will obey their authority and do whatever we're told. I mean, again, a bit of a blanket statement. I don't do as I'm told from the government because they're my mortal enemy. But until more people start to increase this understanding and realize who they're up against, what they're up against, and why they're up against it, then we're going to really be at the receiving end of a jackboot forever. So it's not just Freemasons, secret societies, but it's also our own selves in our displaced mindset.
Self-imposed slavery. This is tomorrow night show. It is self-imposed slavery cult, because Steve and I can't speak for Paul. We don't believe there should be government. Things can run perfectly okay without government. I just wonder what your views are on that, Helen.
No, I agree. I'm an anarchist in that sense. Yes. No, I think it should be small. You see, the demonic structure is a pyramid with the big guy on the top and then the big demons and the smaller demons. It goes like that, which is why our structures are all copies, as above, so below. And so, yes, I would say get rid of all of that, and each area, whether that be village, small town, whatever it is, small areas like this, they would have their circles of wise people, whatever age that might. Just another question of age necessarily, but wise people who would get voted in because they would be voted in not because they necessarily wanted to do it, because everyone said, no, you'd be the best person for the job. And within that, the best people for a particular job would be chosen. And so we want a new project. We need a bridge, over the whatever. And you're an engineer, right? You better be the person, who is in charge of organising, getting the bridge together, right? And you're really good at, about permaculture. So you be the one that head up that, and you create and so you create these circles going out like that. That's how it should be. And there's no boss. There's nobody going, like, Trumstein, you fucking kill everybody, send them back to the Stone Age. You're not going to have that, because you can't, because it's, then people would look at them and go, what the hell? They just get rid of them,
Well, it's a bit like the Amish in America. They don't really have a leader as such. It's the elders that make senior, make decisions. The people. And when you look at, for example, in the Boer War, the Boers, they were straight. They worked in groups of 3, which it works very, very well. And you think about it, they were beating the British that had the most advanced army in the world at that time. They're literally beating us. And the only way we could hit back was to destroy their farms and have a burnt earth policy. That's the only way we could beat the Boers.
And you can see that's happening in Iran right now as well. It's pathetic.
Well, it is. But the thing is, we don't know fully what's happening. But what gets me, I actually find Trump, has he had a brain transplant? It's rejected him. I mean, it's some of the things he sounds like a little boy that's just been bought an Action Man toy. We can do this. I'll do this. I mean, it's childish.
He was always a psychopath and narcissist and whatever else thing you can think of. But no, I think his brain has actually gone, and he's been bought and paid for. So he's doing what he was.
Yes, by the unmentionables.
But the demon is running the show, obviously, and the same with all those Pete Hegseth, whatever his name is, and all that group. They're all just demons.
They are.
And you can see, it's the same with Israel. You see them all, they're all just all this bloodlust.
The
Sorry,
important
sorry,
point to take from this is, we obviously recognise this. We realise that there's a bunch of blood crazy psychopaths running the show. We need to stop now. The next thing we need to do, because before you came on, Helen, we're talking about, we are literally in what's known as a cognitive war. We are the combatants, whether we want to face that reality or not, as regular people, as regular human beings from around the world. We are the combatants in a war for our well-being, and if we don't want to be in this war, well, we need to either accept our miserable defeat, which is going to be a lot significantly more worse than what it is now, conditions-wise, because we will basically have all rights eroded, and our children's generation will massively suffer as a result of what the conditions that are to be imposed upon will be. So if we don't want to be combatants, we need to either face up to that reality and embrace it, or we need to start buckling up and starting to take some appropriate action. So the appropriate action, when we know that there's psychopaths running the show, is literally stop feeding them. And if we have stopped feeding, which I have, so I was explaining to the viewers earlier that I don't pay any tax. Why? Because it's immoral. Because it's theft, because it's in violation of my rights. It's in violation of what would be called morality. So if we can't apply morality as human beings, then we are living in an evil system, and we are feeding an evil system. So our first understanding, so I talked about holistic intelligence before, the first part of that holistic intelligence needs to be really generated upon morality and rights. So rights are a funny thing, because a lot of people will say, well, what are our rights? Again, for people listening at home, ask yourself these questions. What are your rights? And I've probably mentioned it a few times on your show, Eric. What are our rights? Well, our rights don't come from the government. They never have, they never will, they never do. So government don't grant us rights. Governments only erode rights. They always will. And what they'll do over time, they will take more rights away, because they don't give rights. They can't do that. Rights come from nature, which is why I advocate for something called natural law, because natural law educates fully on what a right is and what a right isn't. It fully educates upon what morality is and what morality isn't. Government do not fit into the system of rights or morality. So therefore, if we want government and we think it's necessary at any level, then we have to embrace immorality. We have to embrace the erosion of rights. You can't have part rights and part morality. It's either full morality or it's no morality. Government don't fit into this bracket. So for the benefit of anybody who embraces the notion of government, which means mind control, incidentally, I know I keep stressing that one. The word government, gubernare mentis, means mind control. If anyone thinks mind control is a right of government, then sorry guys, you're all set for a miserable defeat come the year 2030.
And also, Steve,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go, but I agree totally with you, and I totally on board.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and please join us tomorrow night. Steve will be back on, and also Nathan Allenby, and of course Paul. We call him Anorak because it's Paul. Don't mention anything about buses, so you're all right as long as you don't mention any buses to him. You'd be all right. By the way, do you have a bus service where you live in Brazil?
Probably. I don't know. I don't go on the bus. I think there is one. I'm not sure.
Is it full of chickens and sort of farm animals and people sitting there, a bit like no? It looks rather posh where you are. It looks very posh. I mean, they've the cars and all that market.
It's like Europe. It's like Europe without the other people in it. You know what I mean?
Excellent. It sounds very good. Anyway, see you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow afternoon at your time.
Bye.
See you, Helen. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, ciao.
Bye.
I love ciao. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Chris, I'm going to do the same if that's okay. I'm going to vacate as well, if that's all right.
See you, Paul. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Good night.
But,
Good night, Steve.
It's all right, pal.
Thanks for joining us. Bye. What I was going to say, Steve, is that if you are paying tax, you're aiding and abetting a crime. Surely, you think about it,
I mean,
and
literally
that is illegal. You are
Yeah.
paying. I mean, council tax that came through. Oh, but by the way, I haven't got it here. A voting form, which it looks very nice in my bin, and it came through once upon a time. It's a postcard. Now you got to rip off this thing, and it's all complicated. You've got to show ID. Well, I don't vote, so it doesn't really make any difference to me.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, what I use, it's a very nice piece of card. It's just right for getting crud from, because on my smart car, crud builds up between my number plate and the car body, and that voting thing is perfect for getting the crap out of it because plastic's
Yeah.
a bit too sharp. So there we go. You know.
I mean,
Hello, Patrick. Patrick's joined us. Sorry.
All right. Hey, man.
Howdy.
And by the way, the house band is still in the
In queue?
background here in queue. Yeah. So when you fancy a headache, sorry, I mean the house band, I'll be happy to play it. And and have you got your headache tablets ready, or you're all right? You know.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I won't play it yet. We play it out. Should we play it after Food for Thought Radio goes off? Because if we play it beforehand, I mean, they might not want us on again.
It's a very good tune.
Thank you.
By the way, you mentioned voting. Obviously, I mean, obviously, it stands to reason I don't vote because
I don't.
I mean, I want the government to be completely abolished from start to finish, every last notion of it. I want it eroded to the annals of history as a bad experience, something never to be repeated. But until that happens, I'm going to have to say, and again, please don't take this personally, but anybody who still votes, I'm sorry, it's a big fat nothing burger from me.
I agree. Yeah.
You've got to
To
be
me.
a complete imbecile if you vote. If anyone votes, and again, don't take that personal. If anyone's listening and they still vote or they still think politics is a solution, obviously it's not. We're suffering mind control if we think that. We're deluded. But again, I'm trying to be polite about this. So again, this is me with a smile.
Last time I walked past the not bowling, the polling place, which is a school. Where they have schools over it. I don't know if they do the same in America, Patrick. Do they?
Yeah, they do it.
Yeah. I saw an excellent vote person, and it was a person's dog that was saying exactly what I feel. It's cocking its leg up the post outside. I thought, yep, there's someone that really, there's an intelligent dog, you know, having a pee up the post. But actually, I walked past it. I go down, you know, to go to the shops, and there's no one going in there. This was the last time they had voted, and when I came back, there's no one. It's empty. But I don't think people vote on the local elections, and I don't vote on any elections. You don't give us stuff. You know,
Mine's just by not voting doesn't mean that the government will not succeed. But we need to do more than just stop voting, because really, if more people stop voting, well, all that will happen is government will realise that we're just not even worth bothering with, so they'll just appoint leaders. By the way, there was voting in North Korea, there was voting in World War II, elements of Germany, etc., etc. All of these.
That's right. And Soviet Union. They voted to vote, yeah.
They all ran democratic systems. Democracy, that's just socialism by a different name. It always erodes into socialism. It's always the same thing, and which is basically just eroding away the God-given rights that you were put
I 100% agree. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true there. But I read today. I think did you send it? No, I don't know if you sent it through, Patrick, on Telegram channel. That it might have been on your one, where in Germany, any male between the age of 18 and I believe is it 45, if they leave the country for longer than 3 months, they got to ask permission from the government because they're bringing in the draft in Germany.
I don't think it was for me, but
No, it
that
must have been.
that doesn't
yeah.
surprise me with Germany. They're totally social engineered over there to be obedient.
Mind you, when they last had the draft in Germany, a lot of the youth left there whilst they was that age and came back afterwards. And people used to families used to save up to send their sons away overseas. And I worked with a couple of Germans that were escaping it, and that was quite common in those days. But of course, where can you escape to? The other place they went to was Sweden and asked political asylum. You can't do that now. Canada was another place, political asylum. So probably the best place to go is where it's Brazil, probably, or South America. Just disappear, which you can do. You can. I should think you could disappear into.
I mean, I think that's all well and good. I mean, I obviously wouldn't advocate for anybody running away and hiding, because what we need to do is face up and confront what we've allowed through our own collective behaviors and attitudes by becoming more attuned to what's going on in the world, by increasing upon holistic intelligence. We need to eliminate mind control, and we need to improve upon levels of care. So that's probably one thing that doesn't get mentioned a great deal. I mean, I could go on for what government are doing till the end of time. I could go on about mind control and how it works and how you can combat it. But importantly, one of the most important factors in all this is what's in there, in our chests, our heart, what we're passionate about, what we care about. Because if we don't care about improving upon a situation, it will never happen.
Well,
I care. Sorry, just let me finish this
okay.
bit.
It's okay. I'm sorry. I chimed in. Carry on.
I don't care for government because I realise now that I've been unconscious most of my working life and actually aiding and abetting known offenders. And I'm appalled, frankly, I'm appalled with the fact that I used to work for these people and didn't even realise, didn't have a clue what was going on. Now, you could probably even say I didn't even care, but now I do. I care passionately about improving the situation, not just for myself and my family, but for everybody else and their families too, because we're getting violently oppressed, and it's going to get worse. And until we start to care more about changing the situation, well, so it will continue.
You're right. You're right. But what I was going to say, I worked with a bloke who was a conscript in the Belgian army in the 1970s. And I'm not sure if it's the 70s or early 80s. And he said if anybody attacked Belgium at that time, the Belgian forces would be the last to know about it because they're too busy fighting amongst themselves. And he said because it was full of conscripts that weren't interested, sabotage was an incredible thing. And he said they had a tank transporter that they took all the wheel nuts off. So when it ran around the corner, it just went.
Nice.
And he said everything that could be sodded up was sodded up because the blokes weren't interested. They don't want to be there. They thought it was a waste of, I don't know how long they spent, I don't know, a year or 2 years, waste of their life.
Waste of life.
So that's what they did. They just used to sabotage everything. And he said the senior ranks found it very difficult to keep control because they say, okay, parade. And they say, oh, piss off. They couldn't keep discipline at all because the people just couldn't give a shit. And he said, and there was a senior bloke apparently came in and said, okay, come on, I'm on parade and all this. And they said, sod off. And they said, so he said, I've got the stripes and everything. And he said, well, yeah, but we outnumber you, so piss off. Sort of thing. He said,
that's how we
terrible.
Should be. That's how the rest of society should be about government, though. We should all be saying sod off to these lunatics. And I mentioned mind control. Well, I've mentioned a couple of things. I mentioned holistic intelligence.
Yeah.
I mentioned mind control. And one way that can help and again, I'm trying not to offend anybody here. We are all under some degree of mind control. I would even, I'm under degrees of mind control. Why? Because exactly. But I know one thing is got me under mind control, and that's a system of a concept known as duress. So duress is the fear of harm as a result of non-compliance. So if I don't comply with certain things that, let's just say, government do, then there is consequence to that. So, for example, not paying tax, which I don't do, well, that doesn't come without risk. They don't just let me off the hook. It comes with risk. And that risk is potentially harmful to myself. But we have to be bold and decisive. We've got to make a stand at some stage and realize right from wrong. And if we don't understand right from wrong, or we don't care for right or wrong, then I'm afraid the stuff that's wrong is going to take more of a firm stance, more of an impact upon how our lives are conducted.
You're right. And I think also we have with government is that they do it a bit like the boiling frog, a little bit at a time, so people don't notice.
Mhm.
And they, without a shadow of doubt, what Paul English played on his show the other week just summed it up. And there's a chap that said that I can't remember who the fellow was, and he said that they're all in it together. I mean, the shall we say the medical intervention that we had about 5 years ago, Iran was in on it, Russia was in on it, all the countries are in on it. So why isn't it they're all not in on Agenda 2040 or 2030 rather? Sorry, why are they not all in on that? Because it seems funny, very very strange. I mean, there's three possible outcomes to tomorrow's ultimatum. Either Trump extends, well, it won't be Trump, it's somebody that makes the mind up above him.
Which ultimatum?
There's an ultimatum tomorrow, isn't there, I believe?
Who made the ultimatum?
Trump.
Okay.
And they reckon he'll either A, extend it, because by saying that there's peace talks underway, B, knock 9 barrels of crap out of, well, not try, say that he's not knocking that, they'll start bombing to buggery everybody else, or Iran backs down, which they're not going to do. So it's either, two options in many ways, and they're at the strongest option that he will delay yet again. I don't think so. I think they want to destroy oil terminals. That's the idea, so that they can bring in communism. So we won't get fuel. So we'll be just like communist China, but everybody going around on bicycles. You won't be able to run your car, and if you can get an electric car, well, there won't be enough electricity to power the bleeding thing. So that's going to be pointless. Apart from the elite, who will have their nice, flashy cars to drive around. And so, I mean, as I said on Telegram today, they used to have steam lorries up until the 1930s, and the government taxed them off the road, and they were making incredible technological breakthroughs with these steam lorries. Foden had one, and then they had a steam train in the early 50s that ran on oil. So you didn't have to have a stoker on it. The blokes just got inside and it was rather clean.
Yeah.
And that died a death. And then in the 1960s, they brought out a racing car. Not sure if it was Formula One. That was steam driven. And it took, I think, 2 minutes to get up steam. And it went like the clappers. And it had a regenerating thing where the water vapor would be reused. And it was this fantastic piece of technology that died a death. So the technology's out there, and we could, if we wanted to. I mean, America, I think you're pretty self-supporting in coal. I think you've got huge coal reserves. Britain
I
has
think
got
there's probably coal in every country out there.
Yeah,
if they dug for it.
Well,
and oil.
There's 400 years of coal stocks in this country. So if we could go back to that racing car, which I think it was electrically heated the water, we could have coal-powered power stations that were very, very efficient and did not pollute like the old ones did. We was getting ahead with that. This country was at the most advanced technology in the world on coal-fired power stations until they closed them all down in the 1980s. So it's just been traitors.
Greed.
Traitors in government all the way through.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on, mate.
Well, this latest, I just read this from Trump as of today. He put out on Truth Social, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it! ! ! ! ! ! ! Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump.
What an intellectual, hey? I mean,
yeah, that's the type of people we have in public office here.
I mean, all right, I haven't got much time for Eisenhower and people like that, but at least they wouldn't swear.
No.
At least they were decent people. You don't expect someone in that position to use such language.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was back in the day before ideological Satanism took such a root hold over the day-to-day functioning of our existence, and that's what we've got to look at it.
You're spot on. And Satanism and it's something that I think that people overlook. It's Satanism. That's happening.
Deception. It's
Deception,
pure
yeah.
deception.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, one of the purest forms of Satanism is just violating anybody's rights. So I mentioned that quite a lot about rights. Until more people realize what their rights are and what they're not, then we're going to really do badly in this warfare campaign that's being waged against us. Remember, it's cognitive warfare. That's affecting us on a cognitive level. That's mind control. Government, the word government means mind control. And again, I'll keep repeating that, because until we realize that the systems that we trust and adhere to are the very things that are destroying us. These systems are even set to destroy us. When it comes to the technocratic utopia, which is what they envisage under the AI governance, New World Order scheme, whatever they want to call it, that we really will be suffering as a result of the future we'll be marching into.
Right.
Well, it's going to be steamrolled in, because frankly, we're not doing enough as a group of people to combat the effects of this. And one of the reasons for this is because we're simply not in charge of our own minds. Until we're in charge of our own minds and start fighting back at a cognitive level, then we are going to be defeated miserably. We're going to be not just defeated, we're going to be annihilated.
That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And the thing is, how are we going to take positive steps to stop it? This is the thing. And I think possibly starting our own little areas where we interact with people who are on the same level, swap food, swap ideas and things like that. And I think also have our own peace force, not police force. So if the government thugs come out after you, it's like, driving your car on taxi, you just phone up and you get the peace force along, and they'll
in
tell
the Bible,
politely, yes, carry on, mate.
Jesus said in the Bible that where two or more are gathered in my name, he's there with us. So that's just it. You get people around you up to speed, and don't be shy, and you'll really start to see a difference, because you do need that backup from other people. And the more that your neighbor knows the truth about what's going on, the better off you're going to be, because you'll have somebody there that's up to speed and can help you real quick.
I agree with that.
Key.
I agree with that. I think personally, a lot more people are kind of understanding some of the dynamics going on in the world today. I'm probably at some level opposed to it. What I think the crucial aspects, though, which are being neglected, is the fact that people still don't understand or appreciate or value their own rights, their own self-worth, and they actually think in their heads, and this is why the cognitive effects are working so well. People, and again, I'm generalizing here, but people actually think the government own them. They think rights come from government, and they think that it's pointless going up against them because the government own them. They own everything. They own the land, they own the roads, they own your car, they own your houses, they own the children. On paper, technically, some of these things are true or correct, because they've used mind control tactics and called it legislation and law in order to take possession of our understanding. So there's a couple of things. Again, I'll mention this again: holistic intelligence. This is an all-encompassing. Again, this probably sounds a little bit, weird for some people, because I'd imagine people watching this show are very intelligent. But holistic intelligence is about the all-encompassing intelligence, which will help us to see certain philosophical concepts or points which are quite often overlooked. We have to get back to, you could almost say, the brass tacks of logic and reason under philosophical measures, such as, so when I say rights, for example, rights don't come from the government. They're a creation from nature. So if we don't understand nature and the natural law, for example, then we don't fully understand rights. And if we don't understand rights, our rights are going to be eroded by those who do understand rights, which is the cognitive warfare experts, the think tanks and secret societies who employ governments to do their bidding. If we don't understand that we have got self-worth and value, and that all men are created equal, for example, when we can assimilate that all men are created equal and women, everyone is created, and that means no person, no man, no woman can have any rightful authority over us. The only rightful authority they can do has to be done by force. All force is a violation or a transgression, a violation that imposes harm. Therefore, it's immoral. So if we understand morality and we realize that government can only operate by imposing harm upon people, therefore they're immoral. If we then also understand the law of freedom, which states, and this is a mathematical, technically, scientifically proven formula, which states that when morality is low, freedom is low. When morality rises, freedom rises, or whatever word you want to use in that respect. So we can never be free if our society embraces immoral action. Immoral action means supporting government. Therefore, you'll never be free. It's a very simple dynamic, but we need to understand that at a larger level, and some of these little philosophical concepts need to be hammered home to people, because the way I see it, the truth movement are still massively in support of government.
Oh, that they are, and because I think it's true what Larkin Rose says is it's a superstition, and it is a superstition. And it's a dangerous one. But I was thinking, for example, in a small way, what we can do. For example, there's an old saying: "A good general turns a disadvantage into an advantage." So you look at the different disadvantages. For example, disadvantage: they can't get diesel. Apparently, well, most of our food comes by road, which is diesel lorries. And this idea of battery lorries is bullshit because, diesel engines are powerful. So I feel that on a domestic point of view, there's going to be a lot of diesel vans and cars going cheap soon. So, and this is a rough rule of thumb. You've got to look it up for yourself. But if you can grab an old diesel vehicle, and I think it must be, say, 1980s or 90s, but it's one with a diesel pump on it, I believe. That's a rule of thumb. I'm more of a petrol person, not a diesel person. I think you are, Patrick, aren't you? You're a petrol rather than diesel, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't have a diesel.
Yeah, I don't. Now, what we could do is get an old diesel vehicle and do our research beforehand, and then run it on these cheap seed oils that you can get in pound shops. And you can. I mean, a litre of seed oil costs something like, what's it now? It's about $1.50, basically. It's very cheap, about $2. That's roughly, which sounds expensive probably in the States, but it's cheap for us. And you used to get it for about $1. It's very cheap stuff because it's manufactured, and it's not good for humans, but I'm not sure it's good for your engine. But at least you can run an old diesel. The old taxis, London taxis, you can run that on any bloody thing. Yeah. And there's one bloke on the internet that's running his diesel engines on engine oil. Have you heard of that one? It's doing very little to the engine oil. So it's surprising we can. Yeah. The other one is growing your own food. There's certain things I'd like to get the Bowler Hat Farmer on, although I think he's more into commercial farming. But things like spuds are bloody easy to grow. And there's lots of things that are really, really easy. I mean, I believe you are, Patrick, but what about yourself, Steve? Are you growing your own at all? Your own food?
Yeah, I've not planted anything yet, but I need to get my finger out and I mean, it's planting season now, so I need to get into that. But yeah, I agree with that. I'll tell you one thing that I will kind of stress, but again, because I was a soldier and I understand warfare, and I also mentioned earlier about tactical, operational, and strategic levels of effects. So, and again, this is a general point. I'm not making too much of a point on it. But if we are growing our own food and we are, let's just say, we're doing something in order to mitigate the effects of fuel shortages, such as buying a cheap diesel car and running on vegetable oil, for example, this is at the tactical level. we are being the warfare that's being waged upon us is at a strategic level, i.e., from a higher understanding. Let's say we could maybe win some tactical level victories, such as, haha, I've got vegetable oil engine. My engine's run on vegetable oil. Well, guess what? We're still going to lose the war because all we've done is we've given ourselves a minor tactical victory. We need to think strategic. So strategic, we need to understand our enemy. Well, is our enemy? Well, our enemies are the occultocracy, the hidden controllers of governments, who are just the middle managers in this equation, who basically are just appointing how we as the human livestock run our lives. They're just the ones dictating the terms. Until we can start understanding the bigger picture and then start angling the way we conduct our lives, i.e., freeing ourselves in the mind from slavery and servitude, because government only exists because we allow them to, because we are too dumb to figure it out for ourselves. Until we come to that appreciation and figure out that I have self-worth, you have self-worth, everyone has self-worth, and we own our own bodies, we also own our own minds. Until we own our own minds, we are always going to be victims. So we need to think ourselves out of the trappings of authority. And until that happens, I've got to say, and again, ladies and gentlemen watching, we will never be free, because freedom, you don't get part freedom. It's either we're going to be enslaved and tyrannized forever, or it's you make a commitment and break free of the system.
Yes, you're right. And I mean, Nuki Brown made a comment that, I'm sorry I can't put it up on screen. I've had to change, you probably saw a little blip there. I've had to change feeds because the bloody chat room. And the trouble is, when you do that, it wipes the chat room out until someone puts a new comment in. But from memory, Nuki Brown said that people used to use seed oils on their diesels until the government found out, and then they put the bleeding price up of seed oils.
Yeah.
So you can't win.
That's what will happen every time we think we've got a moral victory. So let's just say we've I don't know, signed a petition and they're going to abandon the digital ID for a year. Well, guess what? They'll just bring it in anyway, because all they'll do is they'll invent a law to fit their outcome. Because that's what happens when you appoint people to be in charge. It means you lose your ability to have any say in the conduct of your own life. Now, if all men were created equal, that means governments, by rights, should not even exist. Because how can they exist? They can't assign rights that they do not have. They can't just pull something out of thin air and say, "Oh well, I've got a magical piece of paper that says I can do this." No, they can't. They're going to only invent something and get dumb people to basically consent and sign away any rights that they think that they may have. That's all they can do.
Well, you're right.
Illusion.
Now, Mark Anthony says, a mate of mine used to run his 1991 Volvo on cooking oil. He used to get it free from the local chippy. He did whiff a bit, but it was free. I know somebody else that did similar, and it's a person that sometimes comes on this show, so I better not give the name. And he said that he pulled up at the traffic lights and it smelled like a fish and chip shop. He's sort of sitting there, and the old car's running away. And there's a couple of girls across going, I don't fancy some fish and chips. It's in the summer, and there wasn't a chippy round there because it's coming out of his exhaust. That smell, it's a chippy smell. But now was it Nuki Brown said, I got a speeding ticket for using old chip fat. The police said I was frying down the road. I like that one. And Envero,
Dad joke.
That's a dad joke. That's Paul. We said, if they come down the path of fuel shortages, let's see how many trains don't run, as we still use a high percentage of diesel-powered trains, especially for freight, and that freight is their world. He's got a very good point there. And also buses are all diesel now. Well, they got a few electric ones, but most are diesel, aren't they? Most of the buses, I believe. Yeah, that's quite interesting. It's very interesting there. But what steps do you think we can make, Patrick, Paul, Steve, positive steps? If you're the average individual, say you're a family person and things like that, because remember, we're all frontline troops. We know who the enemy is. We know it's government who are and we know that their puppet masters are the usury scammers. How are we going to defeat them? What are we going to do? What is our first step to what we can do? And this is the question that people come out with in chat time and time again. What can we do? We know the problem, but how can we apply military logic in a wars don't prove anything. Aggression never proves anything really. So how can we outmaneuver our enemy? Let's put it that way.
Well, first of all, we need morale. And
Correct.
that's knowing that God's on your side. That's what they want
Yes.
to do. That mind control is to get you to believe that no one's on your side.
Good point.
And that's
Good
the
point.
first part.
My attitude is humour. We've got to laugh at them. So, what's your view, Steve? How can we get one at the enemy? I mean, and my another one is to ignore them out of existence. Just ignore them. Try. You know.
I mean, all of these things are good points. I mean, ultimately, this was my bread and butter. You know, that I'd done this for a job. Then, so in order to defeat an enemy, first and foremost, one thing to bear in mind is we can never fix a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it in the first place. That means we have to improve upon holistic intelligence. And again, some people might take offense at that and think that, especially in the truth movement, because I'll be honest, there's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to insinuate anybody in this group or your fucking whole group or whatever, but in the wider arena.
No, I agree with you. I think that, especially in Stand in the Park, I mean, quite honestly, it's like a bunch of manic depressives that meet each week to get depressed over everything. No,
yeah, exactly. I mean, my point is with the truth movement. Again, I'm not trying to, belittle people or to try and have a cheap dig. The truth movement really does need to up its game. It's reached a level where they seem to understand a fair bit, but what they've done is they've stopped short of the spiritual goal. And until we get into that avenue, until we get into the right ballpark, then we'll not be hitting home runs.
We're just going to say goodbye to Food for Thought Radio now. Can you hear the background music coming on?
It's lovely.
It's nice, isn't it? Yes. It's a sort of, I'm not sure, in chat,
kind of
can you
airy.
hear this?
It's kind of airy.
Yes. It's the wind of change. Would you say? We could go, this is definitely the wind of change. And after that, I think, shall we play the house band? You know, I mean, the boys are waiting there, you know. But we're waiting until they say goodbye to Food for Thought Radio.
They've gone with the wind, I think.
That's right. Well, the name of the film, Gone with the Wind, my uncle used to call it Losing of a Shirt Tail. Gone with the Wind, sorry.
On with the wind.
Yes. Yes. Here it comes. And good night to Food for Thought Radio. Thank you for joining us. But we're carrying on YouTube and Rumble.
Wake up your mind, fill up your day. Oink, oink. Smart little bites that brighten your way. You're listening to Food for Thought Radio. Here at FFTradio.com. Club Moo, oink.
That's it. And so we said goodbye to Food for Thought Radio. Thank you very much for joining us. And we're still carrying on YouTube. Let's have a look. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and I believe Holy Land Radio and Holy Land FM. Aren't we,
Holy
Patrick?
Land Radio will be on shortly.
Okay, righto.
Feed. So I'm going to switch it over now to my direct feed that I've got
Righto.
in here. So
That's
it's good
great.
that I'm in here.
But what's it? Now, Enviro, this is Paul says, we keep being told that we need to improve in the truther community, but we have all made the right step in the first place. Yes, because we see that there is something wrong and want to make a change. I actually think there's a big difference between uh, truth groups in urban areas, in say home counties, and those outside the home counties. They're very different, and I think it's the mentality. And I think that where there's more countryside, I think they're more progressive, and where there's city folk, they're not so progressive. I could be wrong. Everyone varies, but this is something that
Can I pick up on that point too?
Certainly,
I
certainly.
totally get what Paul's point is, and this is why I've mentioned, and I'll emphasize it again, the term spiritual gold. So the truth community, yes, the truth community in general have made a step in the right direction, and they see something is wrong and do want to make a change. I fully embrace that, fully accept it, fully support that. What they're not doing, though, they're not hitting spiritual gold because they don't understand the ballpark, the ballpark that they're playing in to insufficient detail. Simply because, and I'll be quite brutally honest here, the truth movement in general, along with many others, mind that the truth movement, really, I mentioned them because they should be the spearhead of the counter-attack at the strategic level. But because they don't understand the arena, then they can't hit the home runs. So the spiritual gold is to do with occult level knowledge. So if we were to pinpoint who our enemy is and what their plan is, what their strategic aim is, the people running the ship are occultists, dark occultists, priest class of individuals who understand the mechanism and the governance of the dynamics of how nature operates, how the human mind works, how the outer wider world works, how the universe works. Now, these things to some people might sound either crazy, ridiculous, or somehow nonsensical. This is how we are finding ourselves losing. This is how the human race has always been losing. Why? Because it doesn't understand the hidden dynamics of how the human mind works and how the universe works in partnership in sufficient detail. It's known generally as the occult. The word occult means hidden. Do you mind if I go off on a bit of a couple of minutes on this?
Yeah,
Eric?
why not? Before you do, Steve has a Cult Academy on Telegram. So far away, mate.
Thanks for the plug. The reason I'm mentioning the occult is because it's not known in sufficient quantities. So therefore, people can't then act upon correct information. So if the truth movement want to operate in the truth, well, it needs to know the truth. And the truth is, well, guess what? There's hidden mechanisms and dynamics in nature that the majority of people in the world do not yet understand. Therefore, we will always be we will always be defeated by those who do understand and those who align to the circumstances of how this works. Natural law is the mechanism invented by the Creator and established in the mechanisms and the governing dynamics of how nature operates. Until we can align our thoughts, emotions, and actions as on this principle, then again we are going to suffer because we're not established in truth. So natural law is the laws that govern the way the universe functions, and it is at its sort of causal level. It is affected by the way we think. Now, I'm not on about the law of manifestation here, by the way, in case people are thinking that. It's not manifestation I'm talking about. It's the way in which we can harness the functioning dynamics of the universe to work in partnership with it, and to then become a little bit more established at the strategic level. If dark occultists understand this and they're exploiting us, then we have to then get to know the bigger picture so that we do not fall victim. So I've mentioned the word government, for example, means mind control from the term gubernatorimentus. And let me put this into some sort of context. governing somebody or controlling somebody's mind is immoral. I'd like to think everyone would agree. If I was trying to control somebody's mind and influence them for my benefit, that would be immoral. It would be immoral behavior. Yet society condones immoral behavior because government are immoral. They can't operate without being immoral. So we condone as a society, as a truth movement. So the truth movement still condones the actions of government, still supports it. They still pay tax. You know, the majority will still pay tax and they'll not see anything wrong with this. Therefore, we do not understand morality. If we don't understand what morality is, then we can never grow in morality and make the mechanism of natural law work in our favor. So we can only do this if our behaviors improve and run in alignment with natural law. So tax, for example, and I'll just give a quick example here. Tax is property theft. It is thievery. There's no matter how you want to support it and what you think benefits from taxation. Taxation will always be theft. It is society supports property theft, therefore, and it's a violation of inherent natural rights. So therefore, society is immoral. So when morality declines, freedom declines. No matter what the truth movement stand for, until they get the morality right, then freedom will always always decrease. The law of freedom also states that when morality increases, freedom increases. Therefore, if we are still condoning something like taxation and government, we are not moral. We can't then establish freedom when we are immoral. I'm sorry, but that's the bit the truth movement still fail to understand or refuse to accept. So by not accepting natural law, by understanding the occult, again, an umbrella term, the occult knowledge that underpins the understanding of it, then they're fighting a losing battle. Therefore, they're losing at the strategic level.
Good point.
I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes. But the thing is, I mean, people's mentality is very difficult to understand. I mean, I had some neighbours who, very nice people, they're quite intrigued of natural health. They said, "Could you write it all down for us, please?" I started talking to them. And I said, "Certainly." So I wrote down, made it very light, and I spent a long time typing it all down. And I made it clear that I'm not qualified, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. And I told them about the Rockefeller, the way he got into it. But I didn't go too heavy. And I told them a few little tips, on different things they can do. And it was about 10 pages. So, I got carried away. But it was very light, it was very, and it was two neighbours, in fact. I posted it through their door. And they haven't said a word about it. They passed when I'm out in the front garden. They passed by. Hello, how are you? Still very nice.
Yeah.
Nothing about it. As if, and I realise it's gone straight over their heads.
Well, I'm going to guess because it's not an easy answer. Just like the occult, it's not an easy answer. It's in fact, it's almost quite a complicated answer because you can't just pick it up and think, "Oh yeah, I've read that on a text. I totally understand it. I can assimilate it, and then I can work in partnership with it." It's not that easy. It requires work. It requires effort. It requires understanding. It requires care. So we need three things. We need the head, the heart, and the hands to be working in what's known as unity consciousness. The whole system, what we could colloquially call the beast system, is designed to operate where we function outside of unity consciousness. That way, our heads are not aligned with truth. Our care has been eroded, and our actions have become ineffective. So what's happened is we've been assaulted on three planes which alter what's known as the effect plane. We need to fix the causal plane. The causal plane starts here. We can't generate any effect until we've established an understanding in our minds. And if we can't think free because we don't understand what freedom is or how to actually obtain freedom, then we can't do anything on the world. All we can do is we can rearrange the furniture on a sinking ship and be lost in a sea of distractions for eternity. Now, it probably sounds complicated. It's not an easy answer. That means people in the truth movement, and this is why I give them a hard time, because the truth movement need to do work in order to come to this understanding, just like I did. And I'll be quite honest here, and just give me 30 seconds here, because I was a Dumbo in the military. I was a murderer for money, working for the cabal, the government. And, and as far as I was concerned, it was a great job, and, I'd done everything I was told. I was an order following imbecile of the highest order, of low consciousness, and I had zero understanding of the way the dynamics, the causal dynamics of the universe worked, until I educated myself. And it took me quite a long time, I'll be quite honest. But I had to sift through lots of information to come to my understanding. That information, I mean, I've myself and Nathan have narrowed it down to 400 pages of a book where anybody can read this and be fully, educated as to how natural law works and how it is the answer to obtaining freedom. And it only costs, that's the one, cheers, mate. And you can obtain this for as little as 20 quid, and you can read it to your heart's content. Or you could join the Occult Academy, where it's explained in further detail, where anyone can come to this understanding. If I can do it as a Dumbo order following numpty in the army, anybody can. So, and that's my whole point. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It just takes a little bit of time, commitment, and a bit of care and attention.
It's got to hit you. And I mean, I think also, I mean, I'll just read out what Em wrote, and this is Paul's just said. He said, truth of community do see that the government is the enemy, but it's what we do on the back of that, knowing natural law is important to us. But government thugs are going to give, aren't going to give a shit either way. Spot on there, mate. Spot on.
But I was a government thug. And I got educated out of it. That's all we have to do. We don't need to pick up guns. We need to pick up knowledge, and then we need to apply it to other people, like my workmates, who are a complete bunch of imbeciles.
Well, Alice Gorgeous said, I believe something big will trigger into action. I agree with you. We will be we will be guiding others in panic. There is a way out. And back to Paul, and he says, surely the logical answer is for us all in the truth of community to come together in unity. Surely unity is the first step as it stands, as we all spread far and wide. Well, there's something that, I'll give an example. Now, some people believe, some people don't believe in demons. Now, many years ago, if somebody was told me about demons, I thought, oh, bleeding bonkers, shut up, whatever old rubbish. When I experienced it, that's completely blew my mind. And it's changed now, and I listen to people. And Helen, who's coming on tomorrow night, she is quite an expert at driving demons away and dealing with people that have believe they've been possessed by them, and that's a future show that we're going to do. But I never would have thought years ago that I'd have written a book about it. I haven't finished it yet. It's not published yet. Well, I'm rewriting it. It was written many years ago. But you see, the thing is, I think people are too comfortable, and I think in the coming weeks, when they can't get their toilet paper, when they can't fill up their car with petrol or diesel, when they can't go on holiday because the jets have been put there, then they'll do something. So maybe what's happening in the Middle East may be a blessing in disguise without us knowing it, because my granddad always used to say something that his pet saying was, there's always a bit of good comes out of bad. He was right.
Do you remember the Exorcist movies?
Yes, 1975, wasn't it? Yes, The Exorcist.
Yeah. I find it interesting because I think it was The Exorcist 2, or also it was the first one, where it starts out in Iraq, and then all of a sudden it's an idol of Satan, and it opens with
Really?
that.
That's
And then
interesting.
it leaving. Yeah, it's just interesting that that's kind of a parallel of what's going on right now in the Persian Gulf.
Well, it
I don't know if
is.
you noticed, I posted on Telegram. Probably, I think it's posted in the Occult Academy for sure, maybe Falcom Hall. But Tucker Carlson, must have been the day before yesterday or yesterday, sat down with a Catholic priest who is an exorcist, a well-known priest
Oh,
that you can find on YouTube. Father
thanks, mate.
Chad
I looked
Ripperger.
that up. Yes, that's interesting.
I posted the interview on Occult Academy. I thought it interesting because he was talking in the description about the occult, so I figured it was fitting to put it there.
That is
People
interesting.
it's kind of a mainstream thing now that these people like Tucker Carlson, who are part of the media empire, are bringing this out. Whether they're controlled opposition or not, I guess that's for you to decide. But I find it interesting that they're talking about it.
Yeah, cheers for putting that on. I mean, I haven't looked at it yet, but I mean,
I haven't, no.
lots more people in you could say in what you could class as a sort of a more mainstream understanding are starting to introduce more occult information and themes, simply because the truth can't stand. You can't hide forever, and this isn't something that's new. This is ancient. This is as old as the universe, because the occult ultimately is the means of understanding how the universe functions, and understanding as well the direct correlation between how the human brain works, how the human mind works, rather, that what's known as the microcosm and the macrocosm, i.e. the outer world, the inner world and the outer world. If you can fix the inner world, then the outer world fixes, because the both of them are joined together. And equally, if the outer world is chaotic, the inner world is chaotic. And again, these are all principles that have to become not so much you can't just read this from a few pages of a book or watch a video about it. You have to assimilate this understanding by using a stepwise progression in our understanding of it. I'm not going to say it's difficult, because it's not. It's once you become a little bit more established with how this works, what the occult is, by eroding mind control, and this is the big thing. We can't function with the at the highest levels, the highest orders of logic and reason, when our minds are being bombarded with distractions. So there's many distractions that we first have to erode from our minds in order to come to a better. Are you still there, by the way?
Yeah, we're still here.
I'm here.
All right,
Yeah,
no worries.
we're okay. That's all right.
Sorry, man. I wasn't sure if my sound was coming through there. But we have to erode the barriers of our own minds in order to come to a better assimilation of this knowledge. I will often say this. This means we have to drop belief systems. I know I've probably mentioned this. I know probably Patrick might not fully support this. Religion, government, and science are three of those belief systems that need to be addressed. When we've got beliefs, then what we can't do is then establish our minds fully upon truth and logic and reason, and truth and principle. We can't do that when we think, for example, well, I think Trump's going to do this, so therefore I believe in the system of governance. Well, no, because that's the belief system. Your belief is that Trump will do this. Therefore, what you're not doing is you're not focusing your understanding based upon logic and reason. Because
that's right. But excuse me for butting in here, Steve, but I think that what you're saying about getting our minds into the right order to win this, they are constantly depressing us, constantly putting us down.
Deliberately.
I don't know where that little Chinese bloke has come from, who's sprung up on the internet, and he's everywhere. Yeah. And he was unknown about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and suddenly he's telling you all about that Chinese geezer. I can't pronounce his name, but he's actually in Beijing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
He gets millions of views, doesn't he?
yeah, all overnight. I'm very suspicious of it. And he
I
reckons.
think I might know who you're referring
Yeah,
to.
I can't even pronounce his name. It starts with X, Ting or something. And he speaks with a Canadian accent. He was brought up, I think, in Toronto, but he speaks perfect English. And he looks at strategy and things like that. And he's predicting that Israel will come out on tops on this. I don't know. It doesn't look like it at the moment, but we really don't know what's going on there. That's the real fact of the matter. We know sod all. I mean, what we're being told is what we want to believe. But all I do know is, if it's true, the enemy. Well, they're doing some fantastic. Have you seen those films with Lego? Iran, they're doing these films, propaganda films. I think they're quite funny, actually. They're really quite good.
The Chinese one that I posted, I don't know if you saw that one with the squid and Trump.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's quite good. But
Chinese state propaganda, I thought it was pretty clever.
As long as you tune the sound off, because all you get is and you're thinking, oh, bleed now. So you got to turn the sound off.
So I mean, that is just one example of. I mean, as an example, I mean, for the people who are listening, if they weren't aware, I was in the military, so I understand at a strategic level how warfare works and is conducted, which is why when I woke up to the way the world was working, I studied the occult. Right, and again, that word means hidden knowledge related to the spiritual and mental laws of nature. Why? Because the enemy, who are ultimately behind the way the world is turning into rat shit, are dark occultists. That way, in order to be able to work at a strategic level, I then educated myself on the occult, so I could at least be in the same ballpark as these people, so I could then do something about it. Until that happened, all I was doing was chasing distraction after distraction after distraction. Now, this is where, and again, this is where the truth movement are still operating. They're still operating on the distraction level. They're still operating on the plane of effects. Right? There's one overarching principle that needs to be understood. And again, I know this is, I can't go into a full, breakdown of natural law in 5 minutes, which is why it takes time and attention and motivation in order to get your head around it. Then there is a law known as the Hermetic law of cause and effect, and this is one of the sort of overarching principles that we need to be aware of. So, for example, if I cause something to happen, let's just say I push a domino and there's a row of dominoes, the effect of pushing the domino at the start line will affect all the dominoes until all the dominoes fall over. It's known as cause and effect. That's just one example of many. So behaviors, if my behavior generated a cause, then that behavior also conditions the effect. And it's the same with the governing dynamics of the universe. If we are, let's just say, if we are immoral in our nature, our behaviors are immoral, well, the effect of that, and as I said, the law of freedom, the effect of immoral behaviors generates an effect which diminishes freedom. And this is scientific. I mean, this is in plain language. So again, people can realize that, well, therefore, the way to fix freedom is to become more established, or society become more established with moral behaviors.
I have a question, Steve. Yeah. I hate to interrupt, but hermetic, what does the word hermetic mean in that regard? Because it's very interesting what you're saying. I have an incident to relate to it. So what does hermetic mean?
So when we use the word hermetic, that relates to Hermes Trismegistus, who was known as the thrice greatest. He was the messenger of the gods in mythology. But what does it also mean? I mean, it means hermetically sealed. So when you hermetically seal something, it means you then can't come out from the outside and affect something. So the laws of nature are hermetically sealed. That means you can't do anything to oppose them. They're fixed. They will always happen. They'll always happen forever, and they'll affect everybody. Now, there is some things, again, this is all part of how to assimilate occult knowledge, because there are conditions on the way the universe functions. So, for example, the laws of nature, what's known as the Hermetic principles, are hermetically sealed. That means they can't be changed, they can't be altered. However,
That's right.
they can't be changed. However, we can, because we also can adopt something called free will. So as human beings, we can oppose the laws of nature. So we can ignore them, for example, or we can stop aligning ourselves to the effects of it. But what we can't do is we can't stop the consequences of that action. So just like gravity, if we throw a glass bottle over a cliff, even if we don't believe in gravity or we don't understand it, the bottle is still going to break. So that's the things we need to know. And it's the same with natural law. We don't understand it to a large level in society, but that doesn't mean it goes away and there's no consequence to it. So cause and effect. The effect of not following a moral behavior means freedom will decline. And this is proven scientifically. So again, I'm not flapping my gums here, just coming up with nonsense. This is proven scientifically. There's scientific formula written to express this as an equation. So one thing that, let's just say, the controllers of this realm do is they keep people exhausted and distracted. So again, this is war fighting strategy. They keep people distracted and exhausted. That way they won't organize. That means we don't achieve the unity that we say we want to, because we're spread apart like a bunch of fighting cats. If you keep people struggling and divided, they won't resist. And also, we'll have to realize the system isn't broken. It's designed perfectly and it's working perfectly. What we need to do is get our heads out of this system by aligning ourselves to the natural laws, which are hermetically sealed, and understanding truth and principle using logic and reason. Part of that will say, and again, these aren't easy answers, which is why I've ended up flapping my gums for a long period of time. But the answers to this are by understanding at its causal level. So what's going on in the world at its causal level, at the roots of the problem, is we are suffering from a morality problem. It's not a financial problem. It's not a political problem. It's not a problem of religion or science. It's not a technical problem. It's a morality problem.
I agree.
The inability to reason.
Exactly. Reason based on truth and principle, based on logic and reason, which highlight morality as the overarching causal problem in the world. Until morality is fixed, then we're not fixing anything. We're just going to be a broken record going around following the same old pattern behavior and not fixing anything.
Well, that's going back to that Chinese fella. Aunt Sally's found out that his name is, well, if you can pronounce that, you're a better man than I am, Gungading. Jiang
Hu Qin.
Her name as well. Yeah, that's who it is. And she's also said that the Chinese professor, Zheng Hu Qin or whatever, also predicted that Israel is deliberately trying to bring about its own destruction in order to bring about the Messiah. But he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
To be honest, what's going on in the world was predicted way before he's come out with all of this. And I mean, I'm not disputing his information. He seems quite a very astute bloke. He gets loads of views, which I think is a little bit, a bit of a...
It's a bit suspicious.
It's suspicious.
I think it's very suspicious. The only one I'm not suspicious of is Colonel Douglas McGregor. He's good. I like what I think. If we was all in the army, I think I wouldn't mind old Douglas McGregor over us. So, I don't like senior ranks and things. But what do you think of him? Have you seen Douglas McGregor? He seems quite he's an okay guy.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I follow a lot of that type of podcast, and I play a bunch of podcasts that have him on it.
Hmm.
Typically, there's one that I just added not that long ago. And
Well, I must ask you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you there, Patrick. Sorry, have you finished what you were going to say? Or
I was just going to say Glenn Deason was the guy that I just added his podcast to the Roundup on Holy Land Radio, and McGregor's on there.
what was happening this afternoon with Holy Land Radio or your Telegram? It was going ding, 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 ding.
Oh,
ding.
that was Rhea Bow has her Sunday Long Live show. Yeah, there were like 700 messages. It was nuts. I didn't even I got to bed late last night because we had church. Really late.
I wonder what was going on. I thought, hang on a minute, this poor sod got some sort of bug in there,
Yeah.
And I was drinking my cup of tea whilst I was having a cup of tea, and I was what?
No, my DJ software sits and tries to reconnect to the stream, and her stream wasn't working this morning, so it just kept trying to reconnect. In the meantime, there's a silent sensor, so it kicks to
that's what it is. I
music.
thought, will it ever stop? But
Yeah.
Alice Gorgeous has said it will take a massive tragedy that affects absolutely everyone. Only then will people act morally. Some never will, as we know. Well, I actually think that something will happen to join us all together. And you look at other past things. For example, beginning of the First World War, the country was gung-ho. Couldn't wait to get over to Belgium. Couldn't wait. Oh, let's get it at hand and all that. That's 1914. Just 4 years later, the country became a pacifist country. The stuffing had been knocked out. People could see through what was going on. And I believe the same as what Colonel Douglas McGregor is saying, that they're lying about the casualty figures as they did in the First World War. And the casualty figures are a heck of a lot higher on the American side than they will admit to.
They always do. And the casualties and the troop numbers that they have over there are always feign those numbers because it's just military, protocol. You don't give the numbers of people you have in the battlefield because
So what I would say to this is why, therefore, if we know, I mean, if it was just the group of three of us here, if we know that the government or the powers that be always lie about these figures, then why are we not like, oh, wait a minute, they always lie, therefore they're liars. Why are we defending liars? Why are we listening to liars? Why are we supporting, funding, and advocating for liars? This is what the wider society needs to do. And I mean, again, I don't want to be negative to the truth movement, but if the truth movement realizes something wrong with the system, then what they need to realize is you can't fight the existing reality by keeping the reality the same. What needs to happen is you need to change something to build a new model, and that makes the old model obsolete. And the old model or the new model that we need to adopt is not new. It's the same model that was invented by the creator of the system in the first place. It's known as natural law. If the truth movement want unity, it needs to be united in nature. And for example, if we know most people on planet Earth will know that if you eat crisps, chocolate, and fizzy pop, eventually you're going to have a health problem. If you eat organic foods, fresh from the tree, from the ground, etc., and you drink fresh and all the rest of it, nutritious, as nature provided, with little to no intervention from man, no processing, what we're going to have better health and well-being. And it's the same with aligning ourselves with laws. Or we're going to follow a system of laws which are invented by liars to profit psychopaths, or we're going to follow the laws that were invented by God, the creator, and follow the system in that creation has given us. Because that's until that's figured out by the truth movement, then I'm afraid I'm not going to be very kind in how I address them, because it can't live in the truth and not follow the truth.
Part of it is that, oh, that's all right. Part of it is that it's, when you're talking about the military and the police and all this kind of thing, the problem is such a problem. It's like trying to bell the cat, right? You're the mouse. You got to put a bell on the cat so you know that the cat's around. So it has to do with conquering fear, and fear is the biggest slave driver for any man.
You're spot on there, but I think that I'm optimistic. Whatever happens, I am optimistic. We are too comfortable at the moment. We're far too comfortable.
Yeah.
But that's going to change, I think, in the not too distant future. And the government knows that once people get empty bellies, then they start to revolt. So I think the shops are still going to be full of carbohydrate crap, but you won't be able to get quality stuff very easily.
Right.
So this is where.
But as far as a person who is a just person, someone who is upright, they're going to be content with what they have. They're not going to seek in excess of what they need. They have a roof over their head. They have water, food, their shelter and clothes.
That's right.
And be content with what you have. And that in itself is a small victory, but the little things build to the bigger things. And that worry and that sense of dread, we need to get rid of that by being upright and, like you say, moral. You have to bring back morality, and that morality is another word for practical reason.
Pardon me.
And
you're spot on.
It's been kicked out of us, this ability to reason. Mind control, the gaslighting, telling you you're crazy. You're crazy if you want to do things on your own. You got to have the help. You got to have the license. You got to do this or that.
You got to have a license for everything. I mean, as I said earlier, voting. I know it's like in the States, but you used to just have one card. And I don't vote. I haven't voted for years. And you take it down there, and they'd say, "Oh, that's who you are, bosh," and then go, "Oh no, not now, no." You have this special thing you get up to open up, and it tells you got to have ID before
you got to be registered. Yeah. You got to register to vote, and then you got to vote, and it's like
you have to take your ID along.
It's like a sacrament in the Catholic Church, the sacrament of confession. Let's say that's my equivalent of voting. It's like going to confession and confessing your sins.
Yeah,
and then you're done. Yeah.
Anyway.
All of these things that were imposed by government, we have been culturally mind controlled into accepting it. And I mean, if you don't mind, I mentioned natural law, and I know a lot of people will be potentially scratching their heads because it's not necessarily a very easy thing to just, oh yeah, I totally get it. It took me quite a long time to get it. It took me a very long time, if truth be known, of a lot of deep internal work and philosophizing and contemplation in order to get it. It's something that has to be digested and followed in like a stepwise progression. But just, I was going to mention that if there was a volcano, we can't step in front of a volcano and expect to stop it without consequences. And it's a bit like the laws of the universe, not what is generally termed natural law. We can't stop the effects of natural law, but we can ignore it, for example, but it doesn't mean that we can stop it from working. We can also work in favor of natural law by aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions as best we can to the dynamics of this system. And that's where if we want positive steps, that is the positive strategic level effect that we need to address. That can only be done by a learning curve, and we need to get on that learning curve by actually getting our heads into the game of it, by coming to an understanding. Again, I would, if you don't mind, I'll plug the Occult Academy. It's not the greatest natural law education system in the world, but I would also recommend viewers or listeners to look into the works of Mark Passio and Larkin Rose, and also to some degree as well, something called the Sovereign Project, which is a UK-based group, I believe. I mean, they don't go down natural law, but they understand autonomy, sovereignty, rights, and they certainly understand the way government operate. They mind at the mind control level, and we need to be well addressed in these core aspects.
Yes, you're spot on there. And on that note, tomorrow night We've got who we've got coming on? Helen coming on. We've got Survival Steve. We've got Patrick. Who else we got? Oh, Anorak. And Nathan Allenby will be on as well. So that's going to be an exciting show. And now, what about the house band? Have you got your headphones, got your earplugs ready? So, do you want to hear that house band?
I'm gonna go grab a cup of tea. I'll be right back.
I'll be listening.
I'll be listening. I got my mobile device, but yeah,
All right.
I'll be right back.
Hang on,
we're gonna play
I
this.
just got. It's a pity I played it before, but this is the house band. Okay, boys, take it away soon. So here we are. I might not play all of it. So hang on, I've lost it. Where the bleed now's it gone? It's here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Is it here somewhere? I guess they've lost it. Oh, it is. Here we are. No, is it going to play? It's not going to play. Oh,
It's coming.
it's amazing what you do with flatulence. Get the old belly dancer out. Whee! Yes, we're now watching the audience figures dropping like a stone, thinking, what the bleeding hell's this? Oh. Keep it up, boys. Here we go. Here we go. Had enough, yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Tonight's guests are Survival Steve, Paul English, and Paul from America.
And that's it. So we've put your votes in whether you like it or not. But there is another one that will be on exclusively on a show with Survival Steve.
Hey,
And
I
here it
personally like
is.
that music.
Really? Well, there's another one. This is Gladys. Yeah.
Today's guest is Survival Steve, speaking about how to survive becoming apocalypse.
Guess who's been messing around with AI? So
I love that. That's really very provocative. That music, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think that the first one needs a bit of work on it. It's not quite. It goes on a bit
Well,
too
I like
long.
that as well. Yeah.
Really, you like it?
Yeah.
Because now I'm liking the beat. So there we go. But I like that. I do like that Middle Eastern sort of sound to things. There's something catchy about
It's
it.
dramatic. It had a good vibe. I do like that. Yeah.
It's a bit upbeat. I once saw, what was it now? There's a mixture of the two. That was it. It's a Chinese, the Chinese bands are also with the Chieftains. They're an Irish folk group. Now, you'd think they'd never blend together in a million years. It's bloody incredible. And it was sort of European folk with Chinese music. And they really blended well. And there's a lot of these things that, that's. So I'm going to try and do better ones. So to introduce guests and that each week. And, but I think the people do like the flatulence sound as we go. But anyway, I don't know about you. My throat is just seizing up now. I'm terribly sorry, people, but
You've done well.
Thank you very much. I don't know what it is, whether it's hay fever, what it is. I just got a dry throat. I'm drinking like a fish. You have a non-stop thirst all the time. So there it goes. Anyway, please join us tomorrow night, same time, 8:00 if you're in the UK, of course, and it'll be, I think it's 5:00 in America, and it will be almost. And then we've got yourself, Patrick. You're more than welcome on, and this is Easter Monday. Anorak, Survival Steve, Helen, and Nathan Allenby, and we'll be talking about positive things we can do. So here we go. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and stick your thumbs up and please consider subscribing. And good night.